And we do nothing about that. I don't give a where he's from. It's unacceptable. And if you like it so much, go move there.
Thank you, dude.
Go move there.
Preach, bro.
I'm done.
This is my guy.
I don't give a what country it is.
This is exactly what Julian's hitting on. Is these guys, bro? They dance to any tune. These guys right here, Julian, accepting money. Put on this is the thing as a journalist. They put on a bulletproof vest and a helmet like they were in danger. Play this for Julian, please.
What's up, guys? 3 quick things. Number 1, if you're not already subscribed, please hit that subscribe button. It is a huge, huge help. Thank you to everyone who's been subscribing every week. Number 2, if you don't have time to watch this video right now, no problem at all, but I really appreciate it if you would save it to your watch later playlist. And number 3, if you'd like to see the early releases, fully uncensored, of these episodes, we are putting them up on our Patreon. That link is in my description, as well as the pinned comment. Enjoy this episode with Jorge. That is the first time in the history of this podcast that someone else has come up with what to put on the mug. So congratulations to that.
Thank you, sir. Yes, certified torta pounder.
You want to explain what that is to people?
I think they know. If you know, you know. If you're California, you definitely know.
We love some tortas around here.
Hopefully the audience, bros, we got some torta pounders watching. But how you been, bro? It feels so good to be back.
Dude, it is great to have you back. It's great to have Jorge Ventura 2.0 back. Jorge Ventura on his own now. Dude. As well. What's the move here, bro? We left NewsNation?
Yeah, so finally, man, fully independent. Last time I was on, I was technically national correspondent with NewsNation. Before that, Daily Caller. So been always kind of in that media game from the Daily Caller, raw, digital to broadcast TV. But this is the first time in my life, man, I'm going fully independent. Just launched the YouTube channel, Ventura Reports. I'm going to be posting about a week or two, the very first video. And I'm just super excited, man. I'm 30 years old. Media's changing, as you know, man. And I kind of wanted to return back to my that unraw filter on that ground reporting.
Yes.
Super powerful. I think if you follow my work, we always try to tell the story through the video. So you're not getting my spin, you're not getting my commentary, and I think people really enjoy that storytelling. And I'm proud of it, man. I'm like one of the very few reporters where I got independents that follow me, I got Republicans that follow me, I got Democrats that follow me, I got people who maybe just started to get into politics that follow me. So just excited for this new era, man.
Well, I'm excited for you. I'm also, we had a chance to talk off camera this morning and really go through what your mindset was with this, but I'm really excited you just made the jump too and said, F it. You said it, not me, and I'm glad you did because it's 100% right. There is never a right time to do the right thing. And this has always been the right thing for you. Obviously, I'm really glad NewsNation put you on as well. I've dealt with the guys over there. They're great. But for what you do, you are meant to be on your own because you are what I call like a dynamic range journalist. You do everything. Yes, you certainly have an unbelievable specialty in South America and the cartels and obviously what's happening at the border because, you speak the language as well. You understand it, but you cover stories all over the world. You cover stories that are completely different from that side of things. And I think now what you'll find is that the freedom just to be able to go after the things you want to without the no disrespect, but like the corporate bullshit of like, can I go do this one? Now you can just go do it. It's going to be great, man.
Yeah, I'm ready to just be, run and gun. And I think that's what the audience wants. The audience could read through it too, man. They know when you're kind of being like a fake TV journalist and not telling the full story. And dude, the new year just started and we just have like an endless of stories that just kind of really hit out the box. Bang, bang, bang. So excited to get back on the ground, man. I just was in South Florida for a few days. We were interviewing a bunch of Venezuelans after Maduro was ousted. So that was kind of exciting to kind of hear from them.
What were they saying?
The interesting thing for them, and it's is particularly for Venezuelan community is interesting because the Trump administration is really targeting them for the deportation operation. They're already announcing they want to terminate TPS. So in the midst of that, it's kind of been a this weird time for South Florida because like they're very super conservative out there, very people could say based online is how they would describe them. You know, you got folks that escaped like communism from Cuba and Venezuela. So they have a unique perspective. But everyone that we spoke to in Venezuela, I mean, in South Florida, who are Venezuelans were like ecstatic. I mean, some people even started almost having like tears in their eyes crying. I was actually got to spend some time with the UFC fighter. Her name is Alberto Montes. He's from Venezuela. Just actually won Dana White's Contender Series last year, so he's about to have his debut in the UFC. But like one thing that he told me, he's 31 right now. Like he hasn't seen his mom since he was like 22 years old. So he left Caracas, literally 22, with like, I mean, he has like 1% chance, obviously, to make it in the UFC and in the US. And he basically promised his mom, like, Mom, I'm gonna make it. I'm gonna get you out of here. Literally moves to South Florida. I mean, he makes it. And so when I talk to him, and it's like the first time, maybe in a decade, that he has like this small glimmer of hope that he could maybe see his mom again. You know, we'll see if it gets to that moment. There's still so much uncertainty in Venezuela right now. Yes. Delcy Rodriguez, who was the VP under Maduro, is now the president with Cabello. So there's still, the regime is still there. So one thing that he even mentioned to me was his parents still can't celebrate. They can't be out on the streets. They're monitoring all their text messages so they could be basically thrown in jail at any time. He says his mom was like, kind of like super critical of the Maduro regime. So she was kind of targeted. So a lot of people, I think, like for me, man, it's important to tell that story. Because like those Latino stories don't normally get broadcasted on TV. And what you will get is the white liberal who was like super upset with a Starbucks coffee in their hand that like Maduro got kidnapped and that's illegal. And like at the end of the day, you could feel, you know, we could have their different opinions, but you always want to get like just the raw story from like actual Venezuelans on the ground. So I thought Alberto's story was like just super powerful. And the interesting thing is we interviewed a bunch of Cubans.
Don't talk over the mic if you don't mind. Just keep it in front of you. But you're good. Keep going.
And I interviewed a bunch of Cubans, and like Cubans also are like identify with the Venezuelan struggle. So for a long time, I think for Cubans now also feel like they have a little bit of hope of something happening over there. So just interesting kind of time and kind of talking to the people in South Florida.
Yeah, one thing I don't want to get lost in this, that I feel like after I had in Daniel DiMartino, literally like the night of, like the invasion happened in the morning, we recorded the night of, put out the podcast on Monday, which I really appreciate Daniel doing that. You know, there were people immediately forming sides on this thing, and I think some people misunderstood like how I want to look at this, which is there's two completely separate issues before you even quote unquote pick a side, which I don't even think you should do yet, but that's another point. It's like there's Venezuela and then there's the US's involvement. In Venezuela, to me, no disrespect, there's no like pro-Maduro argument that is sound. Okay, the guy's a scumbag. He's a dictator. He's a communist. They've lived under that regime for 25 years when you go back to Chavez. Right. And like, I am very happy for the opportunity that the Venezuelan people may now have from this. We got to see how it plays out. But like, if you ask me, just like without any details on how it would happen, like, hey, on Friday, Maduro's going to be there. On Saturday, it's not. Is this good or bad? I'd be like, yeah, it's good. Like, gives the people a shot to reopen their economy. The issue is, the argument here instead is, should America get involved in regime change of a foreign country, even if we know the leadership is evil, versus letting the people slowly rise up is difficult. That's very difficult to do. I don't want to make that sound easy, but letting the people slowly rise up and do it themselves, which they had not been able to do yet. You know, so to me, I don't know what your thoughts are here, but like, I'm not going to have an opinion on whether or not we should have done this in all likelihood for a very long time, because I got to see all the third and fourth order effects play out.
We also don't know if Delcy Rodriguez is going to be worse than rules with an iron fist. I don't know this for sure, but it does seem like Delcy Rodriguez was working with the United States CIA and ousting Maduro, because CIA was on the ground in Venezuela as of April and then infiltrated the inner circle. And for Delcy, it did seem like she knew about the operation. Obviously, on camera, she's going to play very tough to her Venezuelan supporters and say, Maduro's the only president. He was kidnapped. We demand his return. But Delcy Rodriguez has been gunning to be the president of Venezuela for years. I mean, she's very savvy. She's a lawyer. She works the system very well with her brother, Jorge Rodriguez. So she might actually be a more savvy Maduro. What's interesting is like today on True Social, Trump put out a thing like, hey, I just had a great call with Delcy. Everything's going to go great. We're going to work great on investment. So it looks like she's not going anywhere. And then the funny kind of funny little angle to this. Then you have Maria Machado, who was gunning for that position, but because she took the Nobel Peace Prize and didn't like not accept it and give it to Trump, Trump is like being super petty and which is not giving her any time of the day. I know she's going to go up to Washington. I don't know what she thinks she's going to accomplish with Trump, but it doesn't seem at this moment, man, that Delcy Rodriguez is going anywhere. I'm with you where let's wait another year how this plays out. Anytime we kind of have these moments, if you kind of just look at the news history of it, it's always super popular when a president does this. It's like a little rally around the flag, but then in 6 months, it could be a lot worse. You know, like sure. Libya was popular when we overthrew a lot of these countries. That's right. Right. So let's wait for the full story. But I just kind of wanted to get a pulse on how Americans were feeling. I think like one of the kind of best parts of this story was that what really kind of put the nail on the head or nail in the coffin for Maduro was that he just kept dancing and trolling Trump, and that just irked Trump and Marco Rubio, and they're like, all right, we're coming out. He kept doing the whole no war, no peace, like that Maduro.
He's doing the John Lennon stuff.
Yeah, oh my God. So.
Imagine all the people.
It's in there right there. Yep.
Yeah, so this is from Donald Trump today. This morning, I had a very good call with the interim president of Venezuela, Delcy Rodriguez. We are making tremendous progress as we help Venezuela stabilize and recover. Many topics were discussed, including oil, minerals, trade, and of course, national security. This partnership between the United States of America and Venezuela will be a spectacular one for all. Venezuela will soon be great and prosperous again, perhaps more so than ever before.
Now, to me, Julian, that True Social post sounds like Delcy Rodriguez cooperated with the CIA. And is willing to work with the United States. She probably knows her own circle is probably already infiltrated by the CIA, and she's gonna play ball as long as she could be president.
That's what I was gonna ask you. You said that you had heard they.
No, it's confirmed. CIA hit the ground in Venezuela in April. And
all right, my only question to that would be they weren't there a long time before.
No, yeah. Come on.
Yeah. Who hit the ground? Yeah. Like the fucking
now the only reason we know from because of April is because the CIA like leaked it to the media.
That's real believable.
When I was with NewsNation, I started to I was covering the military buildup, so kind of like the whole Amarada that's set up in the Caribbean, and I kept kind of reporting like. That Maduro, with this military buildup, he should be finding like an out. He should have been like, with China or Russia, he should have reached some type of agreement. I mean, I don't know how it looks like, where he could have found some type of exile or asylum in either Russia or China.
Yeah.
As soon as he saw that military buildup, he should already knew his days were numbered. I was speaking with some folks in DC like before the new year. We thought like in the first 6 months Maduro was going to be ousted. I didn't think like in the literally like the first week of January. But once he saw that military buildup, it's like, what do you think Trump was you think Trump was, all those boats were just going to sail away? All those Marines were going to go away? I mean, Pete Hegseth was flying to Puerto Rico, speaking to Marines. They were posting on social media. It wasn't a secret. And Hegseth was telling the Marines, this is real world. This is not a training.
Okay. We need to talk about the gas station and head shop mushroom gummies that definitely aren't mushrooms. We've all seen this weird trend happening now where gas stations and smoke shops are selling these so-called mushroom gummies, amanita gummies, psychedelic gummies, all kinds of labels. But independent testing keeps finding that many of them aren't mushrooms at all. Some of them contain synthetic tryptamines, and others contain benzodiazepines, all sold under the guise of a natural mushroom product. It's honestly dangerous and extremely common across the United States right now. But what if I told you that there is a legal and safe psychoactive mushroom gummy that you can buy and have shipped to your doorstep? Well, let me tell you about my friends at Amantora. They're the real deal. The largest Amanita muscaria supplier in the US, totally transparent, totally natural, and deeply committed to the tradition behind this mushroom. I like that I can just take one of their capsules and get a nice little feeling and not be too cooked and go about my day. That's what I've done in the past. Other people, if you want to turn up your actual dosage as well and get a bigger feeling, you can do that too. Amanita's gummies and capsules use real, properly processed Amanita muscaria. No synthetics, no mastery chemicals, no surprises. They've helped over 45,000 customers connect with this ancient mushroom again, and they would love to help you connect with it as well. So go to www.amantora.com/go/Julian. That link is in my description below, and use code JD22 for 22% off your first order. Once again, use that link in my description below and use code JD22 for 22% off your first order with Amantora.
And so, I mean, Maduro had like a warning and he should have been out of there, but
yeah, I had the great political philosopher Kurt Metzger in here back in October, and he was like, oh yeah, we're going to war with Venezuela. And look, like, he was 100% right, but to your point, They were making the fucking armaments known for a while. And my issue that I don't like, that is annoying to me, is how they went out of their way for months and months and months to market it as a drug thing. I know Venezuela is moving drugs. Like, some bad forces there were moving drugs. I know some of those drugs are ending up in America. Compared to Mexico, we're talking about 3 baggies and a fucking 8-ball.
Right.
All right? They're sitting on the biggest oil reserves in the history of the world. Just, that's like, and that's one thing I'll say about Trump since the actual invasion. He was like, they got a lot of oil. Like, at least he's being honest after the fact. I will give him that. But that whole like, oh, look, we blew up another Venezuelan drug boat. Yeah, what about the fucking 75 drug boats that just landed in San Diego from Tijuana? Like, are we blowing them up too? Aren't they a terrorist organization?
They kind of also fabricate. I know, Joey, we could pull it up. They fabricated the whole Cartel de los Soles. Like, the DOJ has basically like, oh yeah, that wasn't really like a cartel. It was more of about the culture of the government. So Cartel de los Soles was completely made up. And I remember when I started,
Can you explain reporting that to people who aren't familiar?
Yeah. So about a year ago, the Trump administration. This is all, just so folks know, this is really the Marco Rubio playbook. I mean, obviously Trump's the president, he's the face, but Marco Rubio can't convince Trump to invade Venezuela just to invade and get oil. So Marco has to basically convince Trump to hit Venezuela from another way. And the way they could do that is the drugs and Maduro's trafficking narco-terrorists and all that. I'm not saying Maduro, he probably knew some shady things were going on, but he's not the head of this Cartel de los Soles, and he's like an El Chapo character. But what they kind of did is they kind of made up Cartel de los Soles, so it sounds sexy. And then the other kind of key is then by declaring Cartel de los Soles a foreign terrorist organization. So by doing that, when I'm speaking with DC insiders, it gives Trump the ability to now bypass Congress and then just attack them, bro, like the same way if they were targeting Al-Qaeda. The same way that you look at like Saddam Hussein is basically where Maduro is at. So they fabricated that, declared a foreign terrorist organization so then they could start doing the bombing and then they could start putting the pieces to essentially capture Maduro. They put a $50 million bounty on his head, hoping that like someone in his inner circle would probably start to reveal his whereabouts, which the CIA probably already started to crack. And all of a sudden, bro, now that he's getting charged, it's literally like completely made up. Like, and the DOJ is telling you that.
Can you actually, so Deef just pulled something up and I'll read this, but Deef also, this was quiet. I was texting our mutual friend Brian Enton about this because he was at the courthouse covering Maduro's hearings. The DOJ very quietly removed the cartel organization part of the indictment and and I forget, maybe we can find the language, Deef, but it basically said like, oh yeah, he was just around some stuff. Like legally it makes no sense. It's like a jury's going to be like, so you don't have evidence.
See there?
Trump's DOJ quietly changes crucial detail and charges against Maduro. Let's go down here. All right, the New York Times reported Monday that the failing New York Times reported Monday that the new indictment of Maduro and others on charges related to drug trafficking omitted a crucial element of original charges. The criminal organization that Maduro supposedly ran, Cartel de los Soles, the original indictment filed against Maduro in March 2020 in the Southern District of New York, described the Cartel de los Soles as drug trafficking organization comprised of high-ranking officials that operated between 1999 and 2020. This was, by the way, they did this like 2 weeks into COVID.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
Very interesting. But under the leadership of Maduro, Moros, and others, the Cartel de los Soles sought not only to enrich its members and enhance their power, but also to flood the United States with cocaine, the indictment said. And a lot of clubs in New York thank them for that, apparently. But apparently, Cartel de los Soles isn't a real organization at all. It's a slang term invented by the Venezuelan media to describe corruption, according to the Times. The supposed cartel's inclusion in the original indictment would be as if someone tried Trump for leading Trump World as a criminal organization. So the new indictment, this is what I want to get to, because this is beyond like whatever the New York Times is trying to take away from it. The original indictment mentions the cartel 32 times, while the new one only mentions it twice, this time describing Cartel de los Soles as a patronage system run by those at the top. The new indictment adds to the original by including additional charges of narco-terrorism, conspiracy to import cocaine, and gun charges, as well as charges against Maduro's wife for allegedly accepting bribes to broker trafficking meetings. There was a tweet. I hope someone in the comments maybe can find it and link it. It's because you can't search for it, Thief, because it was a screenshot, so I can't give you something to search. but it actually had the language from the indictment where it then showed what the new language is, and it's gibberish.
It describes like a culture of the government. But
yeah.
That right there, ladies and gentlemen, is the 101 Marco Rubio playbook executed perfectly. Marco Rubio right now they have now their eyes on Nicaragua and Cuba. Mexico is on the list. I don't know if we can find the report today, Joey, but I know that it said it was reported today. U.S. is pressuring Mexico to allow special commander CIA operations in Mexico. U.S. started flying CIA drones as of last year.
As of last year.
As of last year. I mean, we know in the public because that's
Who do you work for?
What they're leaking. But in my kind of prediction, we'll see U.S. troops on the ground in the end of this year in Mexico in some type of capacity. It might not look G.I. Joe and they're flying down kind of what we saw in Maduro. It might look a little bit different because I think the Sinaloa cartel like? and Cartel Jalisco, I think they pose a lot different challenges for the United States government. So could it look like drone bombings? Could it, I could see a situation where like they bomb Sinaloa, a couple of these cartel spots. Trump goes on TV and says, don't worry about it no more. But I think Sheinbaum right now is getting put in a real bad corner because the thing is, you're not just dealing with Trump. You're dealing with, I want people to really know is Marco Rubio, no matter what you think of him as a statesman, is a genius. He right now, he got negotiations with Israel, Ukraine, Russia. He just ran a successful Venezuela operation. He's got Cuba on his radar. Nicaragua's next. They're pressuring Sheinbaum. Like, Marco Rubio is flooding the zone and gunning. And if I'm Marco Rubio personally, I go up to JD Vance. I have a meeting with JD because JD's running in 2020 no matter what. TPUSA is already back in JD Vance. We know that. That's not nothing new.
That don't mean much.
But if I'm Marco Rubio personally, I go up to JD, go say, hey JD, great VP. But I just ran a successful Venezuela operation. I'm the man, basically, in the White House. I'm Trump's basically number 2. I'm Secretary of State. I'm closing the real major deals. If I go to JD and go, in 2028, I'm going to run for president and you be my VP. Now, if you don't want to be my VP and you're going to run, then I'm running against you. And we're going to have a MAGA civil war then. But I'm not going to be your number 2. If I'm Marco Rubio, I'm not waiting. Also, Republicans are tanking right now with the Hispanic vote. Maybe with Marco Rubio on the ticket, you could say it. But if I'm Marco, I'm telling JD, I'm running, dude. And then if you want to go up against me, let's have at it. But that's what I think Marco Rubio is really gunning. I think people normally just see the news and they just see Trump. They don't know that Rubio is the mastermind on these foreign policies.
He's definitely been a mastermind behind the scenes on what they're doing. And like I said, you have to look at things objectively. We're gonna see what the 3rd and 4th and 10th and fucking 40th and 100th order effects are here and how this plays out to make a judgment on it. The earliest part on the scorecard, if you want to call it the opening drive with a touchdown, is a perfect drive. They executed a mission where none of their guys were killed. They did not kill any civilians on the ground. I saw some of the images of what they did. I'll show you that afterwards. And it's extremely well done. They got their man. They got out. But there's a lot of time before that cycle. And there are a lot of things that could happen. And maybe, world peace occurs, regimes naturally fall, hopefully, with no fucking U.S. involvement and shit like that, where the people get to make their own decisions on things. And, you kind of see the May flowers after the April showers that we've been living through or something like that. That is a possibility. There's another possibility that this is just a first quarter shot in the pan and Appalachian State's making a little run at Ohio State and suddenly they're on upset alert and then bang! Ohio State just drops fucking 6 touchdowns on them and the game's over by the end of the second quarter. That could happen here. It's possible. So I got to see it play out. But when you're talking about, you mentioned in there that they got their eyes on Cuba. We know that, we've heard that, but I want to talk about that. But before we do, you also said Nicaragua. What's the thought process there? So
they've always had Nicaragua in their eyesight. Nicaragua's right now with the Ortega regime. It's as communist really as you get. If you're a reporter in Nicaragua, if you basically can't even report anything critical, they just kind of throw you in jail. They throw in any political prisoners. I think right now they banned the Bible from entering Nicaragua, which they're a Catholic country. I'm Salvadoran. They're our neighbors, and we're Salvador is a completely different country compared to Nicaragua.
Yeah, we'll talk about
that. But Nicaragua also is going to be crucial for the United States, obviously because how close they are, but because Nicaragua's relationship with Russia and China. One big thing with the U.S. is when it comes to dealing with these foreign countries, is they want these countries when it comes to deals is to recognize Taiwan as a country. It plays a big role in their fight against China. And when you have these Central American countries that don't, I mean, even though El Salvador is an ally of the United States, El Salvador does not recognize Taiwan as a country. They align with China. Nicaragua aligns with China and Russia. So Marco Rubio has always had this fixation on Nicaragua and throwing out that communist government. Obviously, they want to put in a president with American interests to make it easier for them to either trade or block off Russia or China. Then Marco Rubio has been, I mean, for decades, you could find quotes on him, just obsessed with Cuba. I mean, he's Cuban, he's from South Florida, and just overthrowing the government there. I just don't know how it looks like. I think right now, I mean, from reading this report, it does seem like the priority is going to be, I think Mexico, they're going to just corner Sheinbaum and just flood the zone on her. And I think like whether she allows it or not, I mean, CIA was already flying drones, but we're going to see some type of, U.S. presence. I mean, they already ran that covert mission when they captured El Mayo. I mean, that to me is still one of the most fascinating stories that Mexico had no idea.
What do you think happened there?
I think once again it's CIA was involved. CIA went in there, maybe made some deals with the inner workings of Sheinbaum's administration and was like, look, you guys look other way. We're gonna come in smooth, and
Here's the thing I cannot get out of my head whenever we talk about the cartels as a terrorist organization and the United States government potentially attacking them and who would be involved in that. And it's not the fact that Mexico is a trading partner and our neighbors and a large GDP country. That's not what I can't get out of my head. What I can't get out of my head is the fact that the letters C, I, and A always come up in some sort of effort to combat the narco-terrorism that's going on as they've labeled it and everything. I would agree with them. I think that is exactly what it is. When in fact, I know the CIA has used the cartels as a vessel to operate their missions around the world. Now, let me be clear how I say this. I know that because I've had a guy sitting right there who did it for them professionally, complete non-official cover, named Matthew Hedger from episode 275 and 290. But it's not like, I'll give the CIA this. It's not like they sit there and go, we love the cartels. We love every single thing they do. That's not what they're saying. But they're making this very, very morally treacherous trade-off. And they made it decades ago where they basically said, okay, this exists. It's this other country has a big problem. Yes, it's starting to drag over to ours, but they have a lot of connections around the world. So if we got people in there undercover to just help them operate, because it's already going to happen anyway, when they go to make these trips around the world with these other connections, we can get intel on them and use them that way. And that's how they use them. So when I have Matthew Hedger here, I think we recorded on March 6, 2025. I'm recording with Ed Calderon March 13th, 2025, a week later. And Ed, he doesn't know Matt was there. Ed brings up, he's like, are we going to talk about the CIA flipping top 10 banks in the U.S. and top 10 bankers at those banks to launder money for the cartels? And I'm like, holding the goosebumps. I'm like, Ed, it's funny you say that. I had the guy sitting there last week who not only did that, but told the story on that same microphone. And Ed was unfazed because this is how we know the business is. So when I see the CIA getting involved, putting their man on the ground in April or whatever, and suddenly, boom, Venezuela's gone and taken care of, allegedly, in 8 months, whatever it is. And then I'm like, but Mexico's been the problem for fucking decades with their cartels, and we've been there, but we're not doing anything. What really is the game here?
That's perfect, bro. Yeah. And the thing is, we only know what's funny about these reports, so Julian, it's this is the CIA leaking to the New York Times. So it's why do they want Mexico and these world leaders to know? I mean, that it's a whole nother game is being played, but it does seem Mexico's next on that radar. We'll see what happens with Venezuelans and TPS if Trump is going to deport them to a Delcy Rodriguez regime that probably looks at a lot of these Venezuelans that fled the United States as now enemies of the state. They could be imprisoned. There's just going to be so much elements kind of play, and who knows, maybe this came right now to take the headlines off other stories for the Trump administration. One of the key details that I thought was super interesting was that this operation was supposed to happen on Christmas Day, Christmas night.
They had the Somali documentary to put out the next day. They couldn't do it then.
Yeah, you could. Yeah, we had to wait for that.
We had to make sure all the fraud was covered.
All the fraud was covered.
Then the Epstein files. What was that?
How many people? Hey, how many people were arrested on the Somali fraud? We'll wait on those arrests. But I guess so it was supposed to happen Christmas night. They did airstrikes on Nigeria. That pushed it back. So now you got the Nigeria angle too of like Christians being persecuted. I think that's total BS.
Really?
Oh, not saying they're not.
Talk to me about it. I don't know a ton about it.
So right now there's like terror groups in Nigeria that are persecuting Christians. To the level that we know, I don't think any American really knows. I think if any American journal try to tell you it is happening or it's not, I don't think they know. And they're full of maybe like the truth's in the middle, bro. Like maybe it's happening, but maybe not genocide. We don't really know. But
it's just half a genocide.
But it's I mean, this is happening all over. I mean, Christians are being persecuted in Gaza, but we didn't care about the Gaza angle, right? But all of a sudden in Nigeria, there's maybe things at play here, oil. Now the administration wants to bomb Nigeria, which I think is interesting that did happen. I went to go cover as a reporter and to make context. Now I'm independent. I went to TPUSA Amfest. What I found interesting there was that one of the speakers happened to be Nicki Minaj, who is Nigerian, who was like, if you go on Nicki Minaj's Twitter, and I don't know if we could do it right now and just type in Nigeria, she has so many tweets of like Christians being persecuted, yada, yada. Her husband is like, I think about to get some charges, so Nicki Minaj's husband might need a pardon. And then all of a sudden, all of a sudden Erica Kirk invites Nicki Minaj on the stage at TPUSA to speak about this, to basically get the young Gen Z conservatives on board with regime change in Nigeria, if that's what the Trump administration wants to do. There's just a lot of weird little, connections. So here it is. Look at this, Julian. Nicki Minaj. Yep, I'm 100% agree with Max. But she's clearly being real. She knows she's playing the game too.
Okay. Nicki Minaj. This is from Max Blumenthal. Took some shots from Daniel DiMartino when he was in here. I need to see those two in the studio. I'm staying out of it. Nicki Minaj, who was obviously recruited by rich Trump cronies, pushes interventionist propaganda as U.S. military surveillance flights begin over Nigeria. It seems clear Trump Inc. is stirring the phony narrative to get at Nigeria's vast oil reserve.
Now,
how much oil does Nigeria?
God damn it! We're gonna do the. So let me tell you this, Joe. Do you think Nicki's being invited because she's a great role model for conservative women and conservative values, and that she believes the same thing Kirk, or she's being now used by higher powers on the right for regime change in Nigeria? So I think your audience.
You could take some notes from, you take some notes from that physique. I am saying, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's not for nothing.
Not for nothing.
It's not for nothing. But yeah,
So-
I want to know, Thief, can we pull up her husband?
Yeah.
This is interesting.
Yeah.
I didn't know this one.
Oh, dude.
Yeah.
You learn something new every day.
Yeah, he's not looking good.
Yeah. So if your wife or husband is in trouble, folks, get close to the Trump admin, get that pardon, and you're good to go,
That's
baby.
right. Get on the Erica Kirk grief tour. All right,
That's
so
this guy.
The latest updates, we're just getting canceled today. It's okay. The latest,
I think we're gonna do-
I've noticed everything we're talking about, we've pissed off everyone, and we're about a half hour in. There's no one we haven't pissed off yet. I love podcasts like this. I'm sorry, Deef, can I read the headline? Yeah. Sorry, I cut myself off. The latest updates in the SA case against Nicki Minaj's husband. Okay, so you can go down right there. Perfect. Kenneth Perry, the disgraced husband of rap star Nicki Minaj, remains on supervised probation for failing to register as an S offender in California. Additionally, Petty is embroiled in an ongoing civil lawsuit from a woman who he allegedly SA'd in 1994 when they were both 16. Minaj was at one point also named in the lawsuit over claims of harassment, intimidation, and emotional distress stemming from online harassment from fans and allegedly pursuing the defendant to drop the case. Minaj was voluntarily removed from the lawsuit by the defendant in 2022. Wow.
So what part of what you just read? What represents conservative TPUSA values in that?
Nothing.
That's
Deep's like, wow. Yeah.
well, technically everything. So,
Hey guys, real quick, if you haven't already, hit that subscribe button. Please subscribe. Thank you.
so there you go, Julian. So, and that's Nigeria. I mean, obviously that's easy. That's an easy one for us to forget because it's not Cuba, Nicaragua, obviously Mexico, our neighbors. That's in the news every day. But don't forget about Nigeria too, folks. Like they might have a role in the regime change there too.
My guy Ali Tabrizi, you ever hear of him? He did the documentary Seaspiracy on Netflix. Do you remember that?
I gotta watch it. No, it sounds super. Yeah,
That was back in 2019, I want to say. So amazing documentary that went through just I mean, stuff that I knew nothing about as far as like some horrible things that are happening within like the seafood industry and fishing and stuff around the world. Amazing stuff. But Allie lives out in Australia, and we've been working endlessly to try to get him here. But he and I struggle so much because he's in the worst possible time zone of Australia. So the only times I can call him are like right after the gym in the morning or like late at night. And I never remember in the morning. And then at night, it's like when I'm falling asleep, I'm like, fuck. But we'll make it happen. I'm curious to talk to him though, because he has been covering the Christian genocide in Nigeria for a long time. I mean, we're talking the last like 3 years trying to get attention to some of this. Does that mean he's right about everything? I don't know. I mean, your guess is as good as mine. But I get tight whenever you start seeing sudden American bombings in a lot of countries around the world. I ain't even gonna slightly defend like the Hillary Clintons and George Bushes of the world, but like you would see bombs drop always in places with Al-Qaeda, right? Now in Nigeria, to be fair, it's like Al-Shabaab and these terrorist groups that are tied to ISIS that they're doing it, but like you don't have that in Venezuela. I don't think you have that much in Nicaragua if we start to see that. So what I'm saying is when I start seeing this like everywhere and then we're just casually throwing around the term regime change, it's like if it were as simple as no one knew who did the regime change and you have objectively bad guy and you can get him out, by all means, go ahead. But people will know like, oh, the U.S. did that. And then how can that be used for propaganda down the line when some things don't go right?
Oh my God, dude. It's on the point. And then, I mean, we haven't even got to Iran yet, and now
We'll get there.
But no, I think you hit the nail head. Look, and for your friend, I'm not saying that Christians are being persecuted in Nigeria. It's always interesting that the United States all of a sudden cares about Nigeria when we're bombing Christians in Gaza nonstop. And then if you said that you cared about those kids, they called you a Hamas sympathizer on Fox News.
It's insane.
It's crazy. So. Just, watch a lot of things at play. And I think I spoke to you off cam, Julian, even before the Trump 2.0, Bannon was already kind of making the rounds on media and said, hey, when this administration comes in, they are going to flood the zone. We're going to hit you with executive orders left and right. We're just going to hit them everywhere where we're going to have the mainstream media scrambling and they can't stay on one story because we're just hitting them. So we got Iran, Nigeria, all many things at play. We got the Taiwan and the chips and China and the Red Sea. And now we got Mexico and President Sheinbaum. So they're flooding the zone and you're seeing it, bro. The mainstream media scrambling. And then it doesn't help when we kind of got, look, for those who don't know, I covered all of those 2020 riots, civil unrest. I was there in every city.
Yeah, we did. So you and I did episode 229 back in August 2024, where you told that whole story and everything. That episode kind of went crazy with a lot of clips and stuff. But if people want to hear all the context there was like an hour where we went through that.
Of that. And in a way, man, we're seeing kind of the same, like I said, they're flooding the zone on all the geopolitical stuff. But then they're also flooding the zone inside the U.S. And then it doesn't help when you have this kind of the ICE shooting in Minneapolis. It's kind of brewing that 2020 feeling again, where that public angst and that tension is rising. And I just for me covering the news and being on the ground, it just feels like, man, we're almost, at least domestically, we're one event away from that big civil unrest and those clashes. And all of a sudden, all the news, bro, you turn on the news, if you're just an American normie, you just turn on the news, you're just getting Minneapolis headlines. You forget Mexico, you forget Venezuela, Nigeria. So this flood the zone, it's not just from a geopolitical, it's happening domestically as well.
You said Steve Bannon said that?
Yeah, so Steve Bannon was making the media rounds. And for folks who don't know, obviously Steve Bannon, former White House advisor and everything, but Steve Bannon is a genius politically. He basically in 2016, for folks who don't know, he wrote Trump's playbook. He is the MAGA author. He actually had a meeting with Trump and said, we're making a massive mistake. He says, we're making the issue of like China number one. He's like, no. Let's start off on immigration. And then we work everything way down. So that's why Trump went build the wall super hard in 2016.
He is one of the smart, regardless of what you think about him. And I do not have a good opinion. He is one of the smartest political operatives in history. And Joe, white boy's got some motion too. Right? Can we pull up that pic? Because it's funny, he's the guy saying flood the zone so that the media can't focus on one story. This is Joe has this actually framed in his apartment in Brooklyn, just because it's such
It's
a
him and Epstein.
don't give it away.
Oh.
It's such a
I didn't know it was
great,
that one.
such a great picture. Like the vibes are immaculate. Look at
Oh
that.
my God.
Look at that. And Steve Bannon was fired by Trump about a day before that picture was taken. He looks so happy. So Jorge, this is people don't even know this because it
Totally forgot about
it
that.
went right under the radar. I'll never forget the day Steve Bannon was fired from Trump 1 from 45. So he was the White House advisor, and he was fired on a Friday, I want to say, in August 2017. So he'd been on the job for like 8 months. It is the same energy right there. Deep's pulling up a comparative picture. But I lived in North Jersey, and so Trump in the summers on the weekends goes to his place in Bedminster with the golf course. So he would fly into Morristown Airport. So I'm coming back from an appointment, and the roads are empty because it's like maybe 2:00 in the afternoon, and all the fucking cop cars are lined up. I'm like, God damn it, he's landing here. So they shut off, like, whenever the president goes to fly into one of these, like, smaller airports, they shut off, like, the 4 miles around it. You got to, like, go around. So I'm like, fuck. And then, wow, he's flying up here the day Bannon got fired. While Trump was flying up to Morristown Airport, Bannon got in his car and drove to New York City and spent the weekend at Jeffrey Epstein's place and interviewed him on camera for 18 hours. And Epstein verified this and everything. Bannon later teased a documentary back in maybe late 2021.
I knew about the interview, right? I didn't know it was 18. Yeah.
Where he showed one clip of it, which is like a comical clip, where he's like pressing Epstein, and he's like, "You've been accused of doing some horrible things to women and whatever, like, how do you respond?" He goes, I actually believe the future's about women. I'm a Time's Up guy. And it like, you can't even believe this is real. And he's like, we're going to make a doc. I know.
Sounds like
we're going to make a documentary on this. And then they never put out the documentary because Steve Bannon goes way back with Mr. Epstein. That's a fun rabbit hole to go down to if people want to do that. There's a guy named Henry Abbott from actually True Hoop of all places who did an amazing like 18 chapter report on this like 5 or 6 years ago. And there's a chapter called Steve Bannon about Epstein. And it's like, what the fuck?
Okay, I didn't know they went way back.
They buddy, bro. So like, it's
Everyone's
funny that they're flooding the zone with some of this stuff now.
Okay, now we're making the, okay. I know.
By the way, Jorge, you'll appreciate this. You're in the news cycle. What's the worst time of the news cycle of the week?
I mean, the government usually tries to drop you, bro, on a Friday or a Sunday night.
So Friday night into Saturday morning. That's the time. So let's review a couple things here. Jeffrey Epstein found dead in his jail cell on an early Saturday morning in August, the vacation month, the deadest news month of the year. Ghislaine Maxwell found guilty on Wednesday, December 29th, 2 days before New Year's, the dead week after Christmas. Fucking January 3rd is Monday. It's dead by then. On Saturday morning of President's Day weekend in America, Jean-Luc Brunel, Epstein's European trafficker, found dead in his jail cell on a 3-day weekend in America. Story's dead by Tuesday. When Trump and Kash Patel had to come out this year and like admit that some of the things they said about Epstein was wrong, but there's still nothing to see here, like that big thing that happened, I believe, Joe, it was like July 3rd. Of July 4th week.
Kash Patel, yeah.
And that's a whole separate thing. One eye hunting, one eye fishing. The Epstein file release date that they kept pushing off, that Trump wouldn't sign, finally got released on Friday afternoon, and they were late to release it. Remember, like Massey all day was like, where is it? They released it that night on December 19th, right before Christmas week, a week before the Somali documentary goes to fucking Mars, 2 weeks before we invade Venezuela. Gone. That is not a coincidence.
It's totally out of the news cycle now. Totally. Here, really quick, Joe. Just Google Epstein. What's like our last article? Amazing, bro. That's right in the middle of the night, and the story's already dead, and they probably are also planning an event nearby. So after that story, boom, we're just gonna kill it with something else.
Yeah, last
Dead.
one is a week ago, 4 weeks ago.
Epstein.
Dead. Biggest trafficker in fucking known trafficker in human history.
How many Somalis got arrested after that, dog? Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. But because by the way, two things. That was a Friday, but like that's the other thing. Nick put it out, I believe, on the 26th. Nick Shirley, which is like not a great day to put out content.
No,
it became the most viewed documentary of all time because it got retweeted by everyone. And by the way, two things are true at the same time. Nick definitely seems to have uncovered something there, and he doesn't control like who takes actions with it afterwards. Obviously, like he is a conservative guy. He's an investigator on that side. Like Nick is not a pure journalist because he does have a point of view. So like he's excited about some of the people who are retweeting this, and he's young and he found a good story. So that's not in his control, but like not natural for that to be getting fucking 150 million views in a week. And it's I gotta say, very well done documentary. I would say he had 90 to 95% of the stuff fairly buttoned up. Like in an on the ground capture documentary, that's hard to do. So kudos to him. But I'm just saying, like it was used out of his control to also wash this shit away. Because by the way, there were a bunch of pictures of like, you know, it. And to be clear, I actually didn't think this was bad, but people could paint it as bad. There were a bunch of pictures of Elon with a bunch of other scientists at a dinner with John Brockman, and I always forget the name of that fucking science club, back in 2011. The fact of the matter is Epstein funded this club. It's like every scientist in the world was in it, and he would go to some of the dinners. That doesn't mean anything happened. But like, you know, people aren't, they're 0 or 100 about this. Like there's no middle ground, you know what I mean? So I understand, like, in that case, someone like Elon being like, God damn it. Like, I don't know this guy, you know, but people will be like, but do you?
I know. And then, dude, everyone commented on it. Pam Bondi, come on. And then I think it was like a day or two ago, what the White House puts out the statement saying, because of Shirley's reporting, we're going to like surge in Minnesota. I mean, no one's getting arrested for the fraud. They're just,
you don't think
huge,
so?
but I mean, I haven't seen any arrests. And then, I mean, we'll see. I mean, will things have play out? But I also find it interesting, Joe, if we could pull it up, Joe Thompson, the lead prosecutor, who's a Trump appointee from Minnesota, resigns a couple of days ago with if we could pull this article up, Julian, and then 5 other prosecutors also resigned. He's a Trump appointee. This is a guy who like literally uncovered fraud like 2 years ago there it is. Joe Thompson. The administration is pushing Joe.
Oh, wait, but this is over the ICE shooting thing.
No, yeah, but the thing is, he is the guy who had literally went after the fraud in Minnesota.
Right.
He just closed like a $250 million fraud case. This guy's a big deal. He's good. Trump picked him. And then the administration started pressuring Thompson and the other prosecutors to find something on the widow of Renee Nicole Good. And then these guys just all resigned.
All right. So I have, like, admittedly, and Joe and I were talking about this yesterday, like, not looked at any of this ICE shooting stuff because I saw like immediately global freak out on Twitter, all the predictable names on either side giving completely opposite. I didn't watch the video. I was just like, I had too much going on last week. I'm like, I'm just going to let this play out. What happened here? Just give it to me as objectively as possible. What's going on? Obviously, everyone who's listening, who's normal, actually did watch this and has their own opinions, but I'm hearing it for the first time. What went on here? What's the story?
So obviously, you know, we're seeing this huge surge of, federal immigration agents in Minneapolis, and obviously you have a city that's not used to seeing no really American cities used to seeing this amount of federal agents on the ground, masked up. So obviously this is drawing tensions and drawing crowds and confrontations. A lot of people that are making the mistake where like every federal agent, they're just saying it's ICE. The majority of agents you guys are seeing on the ground are Border Patrol. That's why they have that green uniform. And Border Patrol is the one who is doing the roving patrols, meaning like if there's a Somali-looking person getting gas, they're rolling up. They're asking them, "Can I see your ID? Are you like they're the ones who are doing that?" So in this Renee Nicole situation, according to the government, in that area they were doing what they call a targeted operation. Now, targeted usually means, from my reporting, is they have an individual who they are already going for. They already track their pattern of life. Normally, ICE is doing that, but this was a target operation by Border Patrol. So there was protesters there. Obviously, all these tensions. You have Renee Nicole Good, who I believe like just dropped off her kid, ends up in this kind of situation where she's now surrounded by a few of these agents, kind of like a roadblock. And I mean, everything kind of happens really quick. You know, there's that moment in that video where she kind of looks at the agent and says, "Hey, I'm not mad at you, dude." And then one other agent, I believe, is the one who's like, "Hey, get out the car." And then that's when everything kind of turns, because then she turns the car. You have the agent who's like in front of the car. He has, I don't know why, his cell phone out. And then boom, one shot through the windshield when the wheel started turning on the right. And then there was two more shots when he was on the side. And then like in one of the videos at the end, he goes effing bitch. And then the car kind of, after Nicole's obviously deceased, the car keeps going and then it hits a pole. And that's kind of, obviously, bro, that went mega viral and all that good stuff. But the thing is, this is my frustration, Julian, is like, even before I watched that video, I already know what your opinion on the shooting is from if you're on Team Blue and Team Red. And I think this is where you and me 100% agree and are kind of sick with everything going on. So,
Deef, by the way, just Jorge, I want you to finish this point. Deef, can you pull up the video and not put it on the screen and not have audio, just so I see it with the context? Obviously, Jorge's seen all this. And then, Jorge, please continue.
Yeah, so look, I'm not a law expert. I have no idea how this is gonna weigh out. But like, I think for me, the frustration was that like everyone just came out, dude, was like an automatic expert on the situation. And we'll see how this plays out with voters. But what I found super interesting, Julian, was like the next day, JD Vance does the this is better. I do an interview with I won't say his name, but I'm in Washington DC when the shooting happens.
Sorry to hear that.
And I meet with DC guy who's in the administration connected to cracking on drugs. So I don't want to reveal too much. So we have a meeting. Meeting goes good. This guy was a former ICE guy, so in our meeting goes, "Hey Jorge, just gotta run out in a little bit. I gotta go on Fox. I gotta go. They're interviewing me as from the perspective of a former ICE agent in the shooting. But he's in the admin. So I say, okay, cool. He does the interview, and then he calls me. He goes, Jorge, I did the Fox interview, and the White House calls me directly and told me, get the F off TV. And I'm like, huh? He goes, that's never happened to me before, man. He's like, I don't want to get fired. I don't know if I pissed him off. He says, I went on Fox, and he's like, obviously, I play ball. I'm going to defend my guy. They're going to defend, no matter what, they're going to defend the shooter, because it's the DHS. This guy's in the admin, bro. The admin right now is doubling down on anything.
But you can say, I'll give Tom Homan a little credit on this. He said, I'm not going to comment on this because it's an ongoing investigation or something like that. Like, that's what you shouldn't just like automatically defend your guy, especially if you don't even know what happened.
So he says, hey man, did nothing wrong. Talk to him about my expertise, defend our guy, boom. He goes, I got a call from the White House to get the F off TV. And then what he doesn't know, he's not a reporter, so he doesn't know what the media works. And I go, hey man, it looks like the White House is panicking on this video, and they would need to get in front of the story, and you going on before Noam does. So, and then the funny thing is, like 2 hours later, Noam does her press conference, right? Does her press conference, all the greatest hits. The next day, what I found interesting, JD Vance is doing the press briefing, and JD Vance comes out and is doubling down aggressive, like off the cuff already, like Renee Nicole Good is a domestic terrorist, and was like, basically he doubled down and so much that like, and this is what I was speaking to another reporter friend about. He's like, Jorge, with this big beautiful bill, you got 10,000 agents coming in. This is the 10,000 agents that are coming in. These aren't guys that are like, hey man, my whole life I just wanted to be a police officer, man, to serve the community, buddy. These guys are like rejects in other parts of society, criminal record. They're getting rushed through training.
Criminal records?
Some of these guys got criminal record, and they're getting, I don't know, Joe, really quick, if we could just put up like Slate journalist ICE. Just put that in as a Slate journalist, just applied at ICE and got in quick. And she was like a super lib, hates Trump, uses drugs. And
You've heard about who ICE is recruiting. Yeah. The truth is far worse. I'm the proof. What happens when you do minimal screening before hiring agents, arming them, and sending them into the streets? We're all finding out.
And really quick, Julian, before you read the rest, so people don't think, it's a lib article. DHS put out a statement combating this, and then it got community noted by X.
Oh my god! For a Slate art, that's hard to do.
So she got a real tentative offer. She's like, dude, I smoke weed. I'm the biggest lib. She's like, you could Google me. I talk shit about Trump all the time. pushed through it. So what I was speaking to my reporter buddy, he's like, Jorge, we got the big beautiful bill. You got 10,000 of these agents that are being rushed in. Not only are they being rushed in, these are like the most MAGA of MAGA agents. Then you have the shooting of Renee Nicole Good. So if you're an agent applying, you're like, oh man, I'm kind of worried. Dude, the VP just came out and had your back. You got immunity, brother. You don't think these guys are gonna come in riled the F up? Come on.
Can I see the video, Joe, while we're talking about
Also, really
this?
quick, Julian, what I found interesting is why does this video from the agent's cell phone, why does that get leaked to Alpha News? I mean, that's a whole other,
It was from the agents. So while I'm watching this, who was Renee Nicole Good? Like, what was the context of her even being there in the car at the time? Do we know that?
I guess she just heard about the protest and tried to like go down, and I'm hearing two stories. There's one that she dropped off her kid and then just kind of ran into the protest. One that like she just went to it and then to kind of panic and try to leave.
We got a few angles.
Yeah.
Let me first see the angle everyone's seen. Yes, I feel like
This is it.
right.
Yeah, this is the first one.
Okay, so she's being told to stop. She doesn't. And then does he shoot from the side? Is that it? Or the front. He pulled his gun, bang, bang.
And then bang bang on the side.
Okay. Now, Joe, you had another
Now,
perspective.
as you see there, Julian, you see when that guy goes up to obviously grab the door. So he right there is what kind of everything changes, right? Because he goes, get out, and she's in panic mode. I think, she's in panic mode.
Because I also, I think ICE also is so controversial right now, like as an organization, that a lot of people, there are a lot of citizens, I'm not saying whether this is right or wrong, I'm just saying this, like, who don't view them from a rights perspective, like when they're there as an actual police officer, which they are, but their reputation through some of the things we've seen over the past few months is not good, and they're also being decried by local politicians, maybe in some cases correctly. I don't know. I'm not trying to make a political statement here. I'm just trying to report what's going on, where, they're basically saying, like, get the fuck out of our city and stuff. So then the people are like, well, some people who are scared of this are like, well, my mayor's saying they should get the fuck out so they don't have jurisdiction. You know what I mean?
Right. And I was speaking to a DHS agent about this. The language is hurting these guys too. So like when they say like, these are Gestapo, these are Nazis. Like some of the language that some media uses is like when they arrest someone, they'll say this person was kidnapped or they were disappeared. So when the public hears that, obviously like what we're talking about, ICE is not good. Like at the end of the day, like
this video, Joe?
yeah, this is from Alpha News, and this is should be the cell phone of.
We're not showing this on camera because the video will get demonetized, but I just want to see it. So this was leaked, you said, Jorge?
Yeah, to Alpha News. This is from the agent's cell phone. Mm-hmm.
Right there? Okay.
And right here she goes, I'm not mad at you guys. Yeah. Dude, I'm not mad at you.
I'm not mad at you. He's filming. He's
License
going to get a
plate.
license plate, so he has it.
And then his agent, bro.
And then someone's filming him.
That's her partner.
Oh, that's her partner.
Yeah. And that's when the other agent, bro, goes up and grabs a door handle, and that's when the situation just pops up.
Okay, so her partner's right there. And then now she's turning it.
Boom.
Now bang, bang, she's shot. Okay, and we don't see the shots, but we see her car spin out of control. Okay.
So I don't know how that video goes from the agent's cell phone to Alpha News. I don't know if
there's a now.
I don't know why they want to make that leak. I know that agent who also fired shots was previously dragged in a car in a previous operation, I believe like less than 6 months ago.
The guy who fired the...
Yeah. So from what I've heard, I spoke to a lawyer friend. This is from, I'm not an expert, but he says that might hurt the government's case because it's like you don't want a guy who's dealing with trauma and then panics. I don't know.
Then does the onus go on to the government for putting him still in the
I don't
field?
think anything's going to happen to this guy because Trump and Vance and Nome are very clear that they have your back no matter what. I really don't think anything's going to happen.
But we started this loop actually with the prosecutor stepping down because he happened to be a guy, Trump-appointed guy, is that right?
Yeah, so basically the administration is pressuring Thompson saying, find something on the widow of Renee Nicole Good, and then right there, Joe Thompson, who's a Trump appointee. I mean, I can't emphasize this enough.
Who just happens to be a fraud expert prosecutor at this time, by the way. But he's stepping down over the ICE thing, not the fraud thing.
Over the ICE thing, yeah. So what does Joe think about? He probably thinks, hey, I have nothing on this lady, and this administration is going to make me
I'm just trying to because I just
I know,
saw that
there's
from
so
three
much
angles,
stuff. Yeah,
I'm trying to I've literally purposely scrolled past this over the past.
Which I'm
week,
glad you did,
people.
Joe, so we could have this conversation now, and
Yeah.
it's raw. And Julian, I'm coming into the studio today. Last night there was another ICE involved shooting. It seems like
What happened?
Where if we could look at this up, Joey, I believe it was a Venezuelan individual. He like struck one of the agents with a shovel. Agent fired back. So we had another shooting last night, and then. Oh my God. And then, so there were some more clashes with protesters. There was tear gas. Some of those agents, Julian, I don't know if we can find the video. They left their vehicles in the midst of it. So the protesters actually went into the vehicles, ransacked them. They stole a bunch of documents that of like who ICE was targeting. So they have those documents in an FBI rifle. I believe Nick Sortor on X has a video of them pulling out. If we could get this right now, FBI rifle case out of a car.
That's kind of funny.
Yeah,
it's not, but it's a little bit funny.
If we could go on X, Joey, and put Nick Sortor
rifle.
Yeah, he has a video. It was all breaking last night. It was crazy.
You know the picture I have outside the studio, right there? Of Bill the Butcher.
Yeah.
Are you aware what he says in that line in Gangs of New York when he's sitting there?
No.
He's looking at Leonardo DiCaprio just doing a monologue in the middle of the night, and Leo's like waking up like, what the fuck is this guy doing? And he's like, civilization is crumbling. There's a reason I put that outside the studio.
Take a look at this right here, Julian.
Okay, so can we put this before we play it? Is this one that's going to get us in trouble?
No, I don't. No.
All right. And by the way, people, I'm sorry. I got to be so... Pause that real fast, Joe. Pause that real fast. Sorry. I'm sorry I got to be so careful with some of the stuff, but just so you understand, we have had demonetization wars with all of Jorge's content in the past. So, like, I'm doing that very on purpose in this episode. I know that is an annoying part at home, and I apologize for that. I don't make the rules. Okay. Sorry, Joe. Okay, so they're, like, hacking away. Can we make a full screen by the shot?
Yeah, you'll see them pull up. There it is, bro.
They pull out.
Oh my God.
Oh yeah, he's got, wow. He looks like a real straight shooter. No pun intended.
It's some bullets.
Yeah.
It's a bullet.
Yeah, I mean,
This happened last night.
these aren't the people I want finding this stuff. I'll put it that way.
Even Joey, I don't know if we got the video. If we could look up Ford Fisher, because Ford Fisher has the video of the documents when they're ransacking the documents. So, as a reporter who's covered the 2020 riots, I'm looking at this, and it's almost like
You were in them. Like
I'm
you were
watching-
literally undercover in them.
Yeah, in them. I mean, there's no one has more experience than me. And I'm getting that feeling, man, where something Ford, like the car Ford. Yeah. We're one moment away, man, from this thing spilling over. Because think about this, Julie. This is just, and I don't want to say this, but you're having these violent clashes. You're the other side now. All these protesters. They're urging their audiences, their followers, if you want to come to Minneapolis and protest, come armed.
Come on.
We are getting to that moment, and I don't want. I hate saying this, but this is just realistic because I covered the protest and I've seen it. We're getting to that moment where an ICE agent officer could get shot and killed. I mean, where the public is reaching that. I mean, look at this. I mean, it's not calming down.
Jorge. Because I hate, like, and I take what you say very seriously because you've seen all this stuff on the ground and you go, and now we're really going to get you back going to where the stories are because you're doing shit yourself. So, again, we will have Jorge's links down below to his X, his new YouTube channel that I know we'll talk about some of the content you're going to be doing there. I know it's going to be great. So, people go follow Jorge. He's a great follow. But, you know, I hear you talking about this civil unrest and what this all is. It is just scary to me, the pendulum shifts that we still not only still subject ourselves to in society, but we make worse than ever when all the answers are there in front of us to show us why that's a bad idea. So here, let me give some context there. It is an objective statement that the last administration, the Biden administration's policies on the border and immigration were horrible. There's actually really no one who did a better job of laying that out than you, because you covered, and I cite it all the time on this podcast, some serious human trafficking stories that were able to happen because of how loose the border was. So the same people who were like, well, we just have to have open borders and whatever because we have to let everyone in because that's what we do in America, when they were confronted with what that allowed very bad people to do on a massive scale with things like human trafficking, where people are dying, they're having their organs harvested, or they're being sold into slavery. We don't know where they are. We never find out. Oh, they didn't care about the human rights then. And it was crazy. And so you get a guy like Trump who says we're going to tighten up the border, which, hey, have at that, bro. I'm like, that's fine. But what I really wanted to see with respect to us cleaning up also who had gotten into our streets here was for places like ICE, Border Patrol, whoever it is, to go get the criminals and get them out. Get the people who are carrying fucking guns around in our street who are illegal immigrants, the people who are committing violence, the people who are breaking the law, the people who are completely taking advantage of our system that way. What I didn't need to see prioritized with a bunch of people symbolically wearing balaclavas and fucking camo who, apparently include slate journalists if they want to get the job. What I didn't need to see was going to like the people who have been here for 25 years and are just a family with no criminal history and seeing kids ripped away from their parents. And listen, people, I know we have an anecdotal internet. These aren't all anecdotal stories. There are a lot of them. And from just a basic humanity, maybe there's a better way to solve it. Certainly you want to get people to be credentialed citizens and go through that kind of process, or if they're not qualified, figure out something else. But there's a human way to do it. And what it feels like is Biden had pushed the pendulum so badly to the other side to where objectively horrible, awful, horrific things were happening in our country as a result of this, such that now the attitude of anger, which is a just response to that, I get it, was so hard from this side that anything goes. And when you do that, it's just human nature. It's actually, no, let me correct that. It's the law of physics I cite all the time. When you have the equal but opposite reaction, you become exactly what your enemy is from a different angle. And I'm still taking in like this one ice shooting and things, but there's a lot of other stuff too. And I am slowly feeling those vibes happening. And it really makes me sad.
No, I'm with you, man. Like, if you're upset about what's going on in terms of like the optics of how these raids look, it's like at the end of the day, this is all back to Joe Biden. I mean, he effed it up so bad that the pendulum swing. I was in South Texas where like those Latinos have been voting Democrat since like 1940, and it wasn't going to change. And he opened up the border so bad that all those Latino communities in South Texas flipped. And I was there sounding the alarm for the Dems. I was like, hey guys, like, these guys say they're voting Republican for the first time. Like, somebody get out here and talk to them. I mean, don't take the vote. And then no one was listening to me. Then after the election, the New York Times, oh my God, this historic game with Latinos in South Texas. How did it happen? Well, it happens when you have 17,000 Haitians stuck under the Del Rio Bridge. It shuts down the port of entry and people can't make money. You have kids, literally, I'll never forget the report I did. I mentioned it on the previous pod, Julian, but I was in the Eagle Pass where they were getting a drowning per day, pulling out kids and babies and mothers from the Rio Grande River. So when the pendulum swung, this is what you got. And the Trump administration came in. We were going to conduct the largest deportation and operation in history. What people, I think, didn't expect is that Stephen Miller was going to just ramp this thing up to times 10. And kind of the way that Rubio's been the genius on foreign policy and kind of the mastermind in this operation, what we're seeing in the optics, is all Stephen Miller, because Stephen Miller, what was interesting is ICE directors all have, Stephen Miller called all the ICE directors in and was pissed off that they were not getting 3,000 arrests per day. I don't know if you could Google, Joey, just Stephen Miller 3,000, but they wanted 3,000 arrests. And when I was speaking with folks inside ICE and Border Patrol, like they were all like, they're like, Jorge, we want to get all the bad guys out too. The thing is, it's like there's just not enough high profile criminal illegal aliens to hit 3,000 per day. So then what we started to see is the collateral arrest of just kind of like you were saying, like folks who like their only crime is that they've been here 20 years and the system sucks and they can't have a pathway to citizenship. Now they're kind of getting arrested. But yeah, it's Stephen Miller who really kind of supercharged this to the point where now Border Patrol and ICE feel like they have to kind of target everyone. Border Patrol particularly is interesting, man, because they're doing the roving patrols. So they're just driving around, could just come up and ask you for your citizenship. I've been speaking with some folks in ICE.
Do you know the legality of that?
So
like, that feels like, I don't know how familiar you are with this, but the old like stop and frisk policy in New York, like that's
what it feels. So let me just explain just for the audience who doesn't know. So like ICE, because like I said, they just immediately just calls everyone ICE, but like ICE are the ones who like they do targeted arrests, meaning that like they'll say they're in Denver, they're going after a Jose Gonzalez. They are doing pattern of life. They are tracking his movements. They know where he lives, where he works, and then they go in and make that target arrest. Now ICE is being pressured is when they make that target arrest to arrest also anyone in that building or facility that's also undocumented. That's your collateral. Border Patrol is another level because they are doing the whole thing where they're riding around with that guy Gregory Bovino. They want that confrontation. They want that interaction with the media. And they want those optics for whatever reason. I just think as a journalist and just been covering the way people think and vote, you never want a story to keep hitting you negative in the headlines because then it creeps into independent and normies. And that's what happened on immigration where only the right cared about it, but because Biden just let the border so open, it got so ridiculous, and then they started busting the migrants and everything. The story got so big that those negative headlines were enough to take them down. And I just like, I know the MAGA base loves this, but like a normie independent voter, like these optics are very bad for the Trump administration. And that's who flips
an election. So like if you are someone who is on the more conservative side of things and like you wanted to see a conservative president in 2028, whether you agree with this or not, I can kind of see where my thoughts are going with some
and
of
really
this,
quick, Joe,
like,
if you could pull up an article, like it just came out.
It's not the way.
It was like, I think it was like most, like I think Americans are fleeing both parties like faster than ever. Like the independence is going quicker. So when I see that headline, that to me, if I'm like a GOP operative, that's a massive warning sign because the Republicans just made massive gains with minority voters, especially with Black and Latinos, independents, Gen Z. So if you're already losing that coalition that you just won, I mean, 2028 is not looking good. So it could also just be, man, like I said, man, people are getting, like I said, the optics. A lot of politics, like I try to tell people, some politics, bro, not even the policy is more important. It's literally just the optics of it. So like, if more Americans than ever are identifying as political, like that to me, it's bad news for Democrats. This to me is like disaster for Republicans because you just made all those gains.
More Americans than ever are identifying as political independents. Poll shows 45% tell Gallup poll they're independents, suggesting Republicans, Democrats struggling to hold voter loyalty. When was this poll held, Joe? So it was 15,000 people. What's the date of this article, Joe?
I think it was just updated 5 minutes ago.
Yeah. Today.
Oh, this is like today.
Yeah, I was reading it last night.
Polling over the course of 2020.
It does feel like. So let's look at the timeline here, right? Like Trump gets shot at in Butler, has the unbelievable response to it and everything.
His support skyrockets.
Right. And then he actually like didn't do anything for a few weeks, if you remember this. And like then Kamala kind of surged for a minute. And then in August, he started the independent media blitz, kind of became the darling of like young men and all that. And then won the election very soundly. And it was objectively an amazing political comeback, probably the most amazing political comeback in American history. It feels like, at the time, he took a victory lap, as it is his right to do, and as he should. It feels like no matter what has happened since then, living through all the Epstein backlash, living through some of the, well, now the backlash we see with some of the policies they're enforcing to enforce the immigration, no matter what is done, he and the people around him keep living in this victory lap world. I mean, you got Stephen Miller's fucking wife running a podcast, like with celebrities now. You know what I mean? Like there is a little bit, or a lot of it in some cases.
What about Kash Patel's girlfriend?
Yeah.
Girlfriend,
Yeah.
not wife.
Yeah. There's an inability to read the room, is what I'm getting at.
I'll see you in Valhalla.
I'll see you in Valhalla, brother. There was a tweet that said, like, he said a Hindu FBI head said in front of a Mormon governor and a Protestant vice president to a Protestant deceased friend that he'd see him in a pagan heaven.
I mean, these jokes write themselves. Dude, that Katie podcast. There was that whole thing with Kash Patel's girlfriend being like a Mossad agent, and they had this whole cringe thing. I'm with you, man. They're still in victory mode.
Some of that was also not fair, by the way.
They keep using the word like we're living in the golden age, and
yep.
I don't know, you know, what I'm, you know, I would really urge people to pay attention to Gen Z, because they're gonna play a huge role, obviously, and Gen Z. They just went through where like they went conservative. Gen Z's very anti-war. What I mean by that is like Gen Z, you know, if you turn on Fox News and you talked about kids being killed in Gaza, that's like you're a Hamas sympathizer. So Gen Z hears that like, okay, I'm a Hamas sympathizer. Then they go on TikTok and then they see the reality, and now that disconnect happens. And not only is that disconnect happening, but then Gen Z cared about Epstein. We're not getting to Epstein. Gen Z right now, economic future is looking dire. AI's coming in. No one could afford a home. It's looking very bleak. And I one thing I like about Gen Z is like that's gonna be that one generation you're just not gonna be able to BS either side. You could do all the lies. They're living it, man. So and they went through when their life was shut down during COVID.
Yes.
So I dude, shout out to Gen Z, man. It's that generation. You're not going to be able to dance around. So
yeah, they could be the black pill.
And look, Julian,
generation.
and if we're doing the timeline, Trump's already lost the podcast bros. I mean, Joe Rogan's flipped on him. Tim Dillon, Theo. I mean, all you know. So
and like. This was something that I, at the time, you know, quietly felt strongly about, and I do appreciate those guys calling it like they see it a lot. I say that I'm a fan of those guys, and you know, a lot of them make it possible for me to do what I do. But some things don't change here, Jorge. None of what happens changes the fact that Kamala Harris was objectively an awful candidate for president, regardless of whatever her policies were. Fucking lady couldn't talk. I mean, it was bad.
Right.
She was an awful, awful candidate. And before that, Joe Biden was 6 sheets to the wind. I mean, he was done. So there weren't options there. None of it changes the fact that like woke culture, which had a iron grip in many cases for like a decade, was cringe in every way. And now Gen Z, much of Gen Z, there's a subset of Gen Z that's like totally bought in, but then a large subset that's like, fuck that shit, right? So much to the point like they'll get behind someone like Nick Fuentes and stuff just because it's so opposite, right? Like none of it changes that was all bad. What it doesn't do is exonerate the other side from there, or not exonerate. It doesn't mean that the other side can now do whatever they want to do, regardless of how opposite or how too far it is. And my whole thing with this was, it's easy for me to say this because I'm a smaller podcast and it's not an option for me to bring on Donald Trump on my show. Let's just call it like it is. But like, I've always had a policy of not bringing on politicians. And I've stuck to that. And I've been asked to bring on politicians plenty of times before. I've always said no. And I was very concerned when they all brought on Trump. Now, they all invited on Kamala. And Kamala and her campaign deserve all the blame in the world for like fucking bitching out from it and being like, we're not going to do this. Like, well, we'll go call her daddy. So They deserve a lot of blame as well. And I don't think Joe or Theo or Flagrant or any of these guys deserve blame on that. But because the moment was so strong, it is so easy. And I could have seen myself falling into it too. I'm not going to sit here and throw a stone from a glass house. It is so easy to get swept up in that. And with the cool, funny guy who's coming back while the fucking cringe lady runs on the other side, that then you get into an endorsement. And I cite this all the time. One of the most uncomfortable things I ever saw was, Joe brought on Elon the day before the election. That's fine. Elon was there to make his case for Donald Trump. Cool. No problem with that. But Joe put out a tweet that night, the night before the election, basically like promoting the episode. And I don't have Deef in here right now, but like the wording I'm paraphrasing was like, I had on my great friend, the rocket genius Elon Musk to make what I think is the strongest case I've heard yet for Donald Trump for president, like everybody enjoy. 20 minutes later, the tweet was edited and he put in there, and to be clear in the middle of it, yes, that is a personal endorsement of Donald Trump. And what had happened was Elon called him flipping out, saying, you have to endorse him. Pressuring him to endorse him. Elon, who's got a lot of money in the game and stuff. So Joe, great friends with Elon, does it. And I get it. I get it. I'm not, let's not play fucking hindsight 2020, whatever. But this is the problem you run into now, because I really appreciate these guys being honest on a lot of things where they are disagreeing. But when you then make that relationship and it becomes a bit buddy-buddy, and then Joe, you said something brilliant a few minutes ago that I have to say all the time, and I fucking hate saying it, but it's true. I wish we lived in a world where how things were mattered that more than how things look. Mm-hmm. But unfortunately, especially in this business, there are times where how things look matter more than how things are, because it's how it's spun. So when Joe Rogan is on the dais at the fucking inauguration and the other guys are in the crowd, can you imagine if that was Kamala and Anderson Cooper was up there? They would be shredded. So, and I know, and Joe's not Anderson Cooper. I want to be very clear. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying the optics could make his enemies try to paint him that way. And it's downstream to the rest of us in independent media as well. So now these guys are switching up on some things, righteously so, fully support them, think that's great. But it can be spun to, but that was your boy. Mm-hmm. All of independent media is like that. So if I were they, whoever they is, all these consortiums of people who actually run the world, whoever the fuck they are, and I saw that a certain industry, an upstart industry like independent media, had an enormous effect on who the fucking president of the United States was, who won an election, and I wanted to destroy said industry, I would destroy it from the inside. I would try to have it make some of the same mistakes, even to a way lesser degree, but a way that we could blow it up at the same proportion that mainstream media had made, and I'd have them make it from the other side. And I had this conversation with Tommy G a year ago on inauguration night about how concerned I was. And last night, Tommy G and I were on the phone almost exactly a year later, and he said, what do you think the future of independent media is? And I said, Tommy, at the moment, optically, I'm not so sure independent media exists like it did. We have to get it back. And I can't say I didn't see this coming. So again, easy for me to say. If Donald Trump had called me up during the election and said like, hey, I want to come on your podcast, and I'm like, okay, well, let me invite Kamala too. Maybe I'll do this one. Maybe I would have done it. Let's not sit here and fucking cast stones. But like, looking back on it, it is an amazing lesson for me to learn from watching what other people had to go through. And I appreciate them now trying to navigate it and trying to be as honest as they can about it. And I hope that continues to happen where things are bad. You should be able to call it like, this is good, this is bad, this is good, this is bad. That is why when I go down and I vote, I write in journalist abstain for every position down to dog catcher. I will never have skin in the game, because I have to be able to praise and criticize based on how things are with no skin in the game. I take that part of the job seriously, and I always will.
Dude, you and me are on the same wavelength, bro. I was when I was going to journalism community college, my journalist teacher would tell me, he's like, "Hey, Jorge, back in the 60s and the 70s, reporters that covered politics, they didn't vote." And I remember I was like 18, 19 when I heard that. And up to that point, I had never voted, never donated to a political party. And right there, man, I made a pact to myself. I'm like, if I'm gonna do this political thing, I'm never gonna vote, and I'm happy for that. Everyone who has a job role has a little sacrifice, right? You're a firefighter, you make sacrifice, all that same stuff. But for me, I'm like, you know what? I'm happy not voting, because I don't want to vote, and then that plays a role in the way I report, and that's a disservice to my audience. If I'm really gonna be like the independent guy, hold both sides accountable, you can't vote. So I'm 30, never voted, never donated to any political party, and just try to attack
Good for you.
both sides. But I agree with you, man. Like the influencer independent economy market is now getting infiltrated by all these different interests and investments and stuff. I don't know if we could, Joey. There's a guy on X named Rob Smith, who's like a conservative black gay influencer,
I've
and
seen this guy.
he was just the Qatar government just paid him like whatever money, and he just right now was in Qatar taking. I don't know if you could just
No
put Qatar
shit.
and in the yeah. This guy sold his soul, and this is what I'm talking about. It starts like this. This is baby steps. Starts off with a Rob Smith. So this guy went to Qatar, bro. Did the whole Qatar's a great country and stuff, and people were like roasting him. It's like, dude, you're a gay black guy. They would like throw you off a roof if it wasn't for them having you do propaganda. So he does, he does all the greatest hits for Qatar. It's happening with a lot of other influencers getting flown out to the Israel. Also, a lot of the White House. Same thing. Is like, think about this, Julian. Let's say you're 24 years old, young guy, influencer, super risky to kind of do this. The White House invites you to the Pentagon. That's super sick. And then, I get to meet Pete Hegseth, and he's gonna give me an interview for my YouTube channel, and maybe I could take a picture with Marco Rubio. You think when they do that to you, you think you're gonna report on them objectively? No. Come on. Get the F out of here.
It's the same thing that the left did with the mainstream. Bro. This is what I'm saying.
Yeah.
It's like, and by the way, like the first tweet that comes up is like Laura Loomer. Who's cringe on the other side? Don't get me wrong, but it's like blind squirrels are right to find a nut once in a while too. And that's what especially when you get to that Middle East issue. Oh my God, the two extremes of those sides. It's like, just go to an island. That's a bad.
Look down there. Go one more down.
My first Rob Smith from December 2025. Oh my God,
this is good.
Like, how do you write this? Like, hold on. Before I read this, Jorge,
yeah.
He wrote this and read this back to himself and said, "That looks great. Press send." Okay, go up, Joe, if you don't mind.
Yeah, please read this, bro.
All right, so my first trip to Qatar has been eye-opening. This is a very different Middle East than I experienced as a U.S. Army soldier deployed during Operation Iraqi Freedom. Long before I was a political commentator, media personality, and podcaster, I was a United States soldier tasked with defending and protecting America. It is something that I've literally put my life on the line to do and something I take very seriously.
This is my favorite line, which you're about to read right now.
You shouldn't have to preface with that, by the way. Did you know there's a U.S. Air Force base in Qatar that hosts 10,000 active duty American soldiers? I did not. Oh, that got Joe. Yeah. I wasn't aware of a great deal of things about Qatar, only misconceptions and half-truths I'd read about online. When the opportunity was presented to me with full authority and autonomy to ask the tough questions of the officials I'd been meeting with, and I did. He wanted to say he made sure he asked them tough questions. I decided to risk any potential criticism and to travel and experience it for myself. I spent days meeting with various American officials stationed in Qatar, as well as members of their government, speaking with congressmen and congresswomen about the complex geopolitical relationship and financial partnerships that Qatar has with the United States, visiting the campus of Georgetown University based in Qatar, and encountering an Islamic population that is quite different from the far-left radicals we're dealing with in the US of A. In the weeks and months before my visit, Qatar had been visited by patriotic American servants. I love when they say that. Like Secretary of State Marco Rubio, Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent, who apparently has a good right hook, or right hand, by the way. And of course, our 47th president, real Donald Trump. I am proud to follow in their footsteps in doing my part to understand Qatar, bringing my military and media experience and expertise to help our various ambassadors and American officials currently helping to keep America strong by understanding and highlighting the unique and mutually beneficial military and financial partnerships that we share with Qatar. It has been an eye-opening few days, and I cannot wait to share more with you. Now, what you don't see is off camera, if you just move the camera over a little bit, there's a 45 pointed at his head, and a dude probably from Qatar who's with
Julian, how much they gotta pay you to take a picture like that, huh?
I mean this so nicely. This is not a shot, but like that's one of the pictures I've seen.
Oh, I didn't know that they had a base in Qatar.
Dude.
I'm Rob Smith, and I'm a media expert. Joey, I don't know if we could even just scroll down a little bit on those replies. My boy, he might have to shut those off because my boy got roasted. Yeah. Yeah. Look at Melissa Chan. Yeah. How on earth is an Iraq vet? Did you not know that there's a U.S. Air Force base in Qatar that holds, like, Dude, come on. The Iraq War was launched from there.
Somewhere Mike Ritland's just like walking.
We're living in a simulation,
right
bro,
now.
a psyop.
Oh
so
my God.
we got to laugh at this stuff. I'm glad that this episode happened today, Julian, that we get to do this and call this shit out. Because
Oh my God.
this.
I love this, dude.
Yeah.
We've pissed everybody off.
Yeah.
It's
We,
amazing.
oh, yeah.
There's no, we're every sentence. Okay, what'd you find, Joe? 11 countries paying U.S. TikTokers FARA filings. So this would require to be registered with FARA, which, you know.
I don't know. It feels like
Could tell which-
number 11's doing a lot more.
But they're doing it through the non-FARA
Mexico.
filings. That's the point.
Mexico, me and Julian be on a flight. Come on, man.
Hold on.
Yeah.
Qatar's at 2.8 million, Saudi at 4.1, UAE at 1.9. Gonna skip a bunch. Russia at 9.7, six YouTubers, and then in parentheses indicted, and then Israel 900K, 14 to 18 creators. But Israel has a lot of organizations that do not register with FAR.
Boom. And yeah, Rob Smith is a perfect example of an influencer who you tell him to jump, he says, "How high, sir?"
I want to know. Actually, I don't want to personally know.
And this is the thing too, Julian, is the reason I'm pointing this out. I'm so kind of just raised about it. Rob Smith is an influencer, whatever. But there's guys who then like to their audience, they say, "I'm an independent journalist."
Nope.
And then they do the same stuff. They do these trips. They put on a nice fake body armor and a helmet, and they go to Israel and they fly to Gaza and they tell you that Gazans aren't starving, you know, and this nice protected trip. And the White House has kind of figured a way to kind of crack into that influencer thing. So that I'm just pointing it out. You know, watch out for when people say I'm independent journalist. Just call it, just be, hey, I'm a conservative journalist. I'm a liberal.
Yes.
You know, independent should be reserved for guys who are calling balls and strikes, not on a team. But Rob Smith is a perfect example of all this.
Hold on.
Perfect example.
The second word's even more important than the independent. Journalist.
There you go.
Like, we have righteously shredded the mainstream media left-wing journalism machine for claiming to be journalists for years now, as we should, because they're not. They bastardized the word. But if I'm going to sit here and rip Rachel Maddow for calling herself a journalist, how am I not going to rip people like this just because they're in the independent side where I happen to be, making the same fucking judgment from the other side on their own? And it's like, I don't want to know how this feels personally at all, to be clear, but I would love to be a fly on the wall the day that the slippery slope becomes a ski slope and they decide to jump over the cliff like this, right? And say, you know what? God damn, that check looks good. I think I'm going to take that. And you know what? Yep. But they probably say to themselves, no, but I'm doing the right thing. I'm going to be on the right side of history.
They're so psychotic, bro, that they have to lie to themselves and think they're doing the right thing. I don't know, Joey, if we could Google it or something, just put like Pentagon influencers. Yeah. That to me was insane. So yeah, basically now these influencers that cover the Pentagon, they're basically giving is essentially like the thing that we made fun of, like as you said, Julian, when we call out the left of them basically getting basically being PR for the Democratic Party, basically getting a statement, either reporting it. That's these guys. These guys are now getting statements from the Pentagon, and they just report it to their audience. And I guess that's independent media.
We're in trouble, man. We've done it to ourselves.
But you know what, Julian, kind of starts like this though. I mean, I'm not trying to be that guy, but it kind of starts with like, we kind of just got to start calling this shit out.
You have to call this shit out, bro.
If you love the game, I love the game, you know. So I got to protect the game in any way I can. I love it, bro. So I got to like start speaking out against, like, there's no way I could let this fly by. Like, I mean, come on, man. You're an influencer. You accepted the conditions that the Pentagon told you. Then you're taking selfies with Pete Hegseth. Get out of here, man.
It's fucking. It is the same.
Don't even give me
same playbook. And also, it's got to be said. You know, when you see Netanyahu fly into New York City and meet with a bunch of American-born, for the most part, influencers, and talk to them about how we, referring to another nation, we have to get TikTok. We have to. Elon Musk is a friend. He's a friend. We have to get that. And you have these kids, in many cases, who were born here,
right,
strategizing with him about how to influence the American public on a foreign government. And this is where I yell at all the Zionists and anti-Zionists alike. It is not a pick and choose problem. I don't point at the world and say everything's Israel's fault, or I don't point at the world and say Israel's our greatest ally. I point at the world and say they're a problem, they're a problem, they're a problem, they're a problem. China, Qatar, Iran, Israel. I don't make a distinction because that's actually being America first.
Yeah,
and so when I see these fucking accept stuff like that in our country with the guy who's killing thousands of kids over there right now, and we do nothing about that. I don't give a fuck where he's from. It's unacceptable. And if you like it so much, go move there.
Thank you, dude.
Go fucking move there.
Preach, bro.
I'm done.
This is my guy.
I don't give a fuck what country it is.
Joey, if we could Google, put like influencer Xavier Gaza. This is exactly what Julian's hitting on. Is these guys, bro? They dance to any tune. These guys right here, Julian, accepting money. Put on this is the thing as a journalist, they put on a bulletproof vest and a helmet like they were in danger at where the food pallets was, and they're gonna lie to me and say, oh, all the Gazans are getting their. Play this for Julian, please.
Am I gonna get really mad?
Yeah. Please play this, bro. I'm telling you right now. This is what it is to be a propaganda machine.
These influencers reportedly paid to visit Gaza's GHF site.
Oh, sorry.
No, it's all good.
Yeah, we could play that because they just like the way that they laugh and like they. Unbelievable.
So we have 8 minutes now.
If I were Israel, I wouldn't even provide matching socks to Gaza. But here's all the aid that y'all claim doesn't exist. Share this with a friend.
Yeah,
who
share with a friend.
Blaming Israel for everything.
And you know what's crazy? Cringe, Julian, then their audience. Hey man, thanks for doing real journalism. Look how cute. They gave him a helmet. Look how cute they gave him a vest.
I'm here in Gaza, and all I see is food, water, and opportunity. But instead of Hamas distributing the ramen noodles, they're eating it all, and that's why their leaders are on Ozempic. It's exactly Hamas's plan.
I mean, do I have to say anything?
Israel as the perpetrator of all of this.
Doing propaganda with
reality,
a smile
it's
for a
Hamas that
foreign
continues
government.
All right, that's
to
enough.
use
Yeah.
its own people as
And
pawns.
again,
How do those people sleep at night?
To be clear, for everyone who's judging right now, we started off this whole loop by pointing out someone from the other side who's doing it. It's both sides doing
bro.
this. It is fucking ridiculous. I don't want to hear about trans lives for Palestine. I don't want to hear that. You'd be thrown off a fucking building there. I also don't want to see this shit. It's just I don't care what country it is, man. Stop. And why? Like, stop.
Dude, I just don't know. This is where the game's at, bro. And that would do that. When I saw that one had my blood boiling. Not only did they do the propaganda for a foreign country, but the way that like it's just so cute how they had the helmet and the body armor, like they were actually in danger.
Oh my god!
I mean, so hey, man, some people could collect that check and they put the smile and they could lie to the audience. I can't sleep at night, bro. No. I rather make no money, be broke, sleeping at my mom's house, but I can sleep at night. And I know that hey, I'm telling my audience the truth of what I see on the ground. I will never come on, bro.
Selling your soul
to go dance for Israeli foreign government, dude. While we're bombing children, and then to be heartless and be like, oh, they're on Ozempic. They're getting so much food. They're on Ozempic.
It's crazy.
Get out of here, man.
It's crazy.
And those people are celebrated.
And
they're invited to stages and they speak. They're offered thousands of dollars at other big conservative conferences. That's how you make it in the game.
Jorge,
yeah, if you want to make it,
you're not a Hamas sympathizer, correct? Because that's what they're all going to call you now. Hey, put a bullet in all their heads. Don't get me wrong. Like it's fuck everybody here. It's not.
Yeah, you think we're on a team?
I got no love for Hamas whatsoever. Let's just be very clear. So
I got the lighter. Julian's got the match. We'll burn the fucking bridge.
It's like, dude. And my friend Eric Zuliger has an amazing fucking line, and I cite it all the time. People are not their governments. And so I always separate the people from what their governments are doing. In the case of the Palestinians in Gaza, it's a fucking terrorist vacuum group. It's not even a government. Right. It's just people that rule them with that. And I also see on both sides how the generational hatred forms. And listen, I mean, this ain't saying much. I'm a fucking YouTuber, but like, I don't know how to solve that. I don't know how you remove that from literally like the DNA. On either side. I don't know if you do, but
it starts maybe starts like this, man, just like calling it out and just shaming because that's really the only way. In a way, in a bit, it kind of happened with corporate media. They got shamed, and like now they're trying to change it up a little bit and stuff. But I think calling it out for what it is, and to a lot of folks, if you're listening to this, like if you're following an influencer, just make sure that they're telling you the truth, man. A lot of these people lie to you because they get to wake up in silk sheets. They're making all the money in the world. They could give a F about it really informing you. So that's where the game's at. And now the politicians, bro, have figured a way to like I said, imagine you're 22 years old. You got someone of a decent following. You're traveling the country. You kind of got a little following. The White House sends you an invite. Hey, we have an influencer for a tweet where you get to meet JD Vance. You go and meet JD Vance, you take the picture, you post it on the gram, man. You think that kid's ever gonna hold that government account? No, they're gonna follow the messaging. And then now, when something happens, the administration knows, hey, just reach out to them. They're gonna follow the narrative. That's probably what happens with a lot of this stuff. So just watch out, man. The game right there is there's not a lot of guys that really truly call balls and strikes. I think Julian's like one of the few left in the podcast game. But yeah, if my thing, bro, what drives me is to be a storyteller, and people, like I said, when I hit the ground, I covered the ground, bro. As soon as the Black Lives Matter rise started, and right there, bro, I got to see the difference of what the corporate media was reporting and what we saw, and it happens again and again on both sides. So, right now, man, it just kind of feels like in Minneapolis too. We're watching this like live psyop taking place where like Team Blue and Team Red are just getting their tensions filled up, and we're almost at that point, man. But it's this influencer thing, bro. It's gonna crack. So we gotta call it out, bro, because it's basically like it's the modern day propaganda now.
Oh, it's 100%, and I appreciate you saying that. I don't even blame people in the audience who will say this kind of thing, but unfortunately, because of all the people like this, anytime that you or I give an opinion that someone's going to disagree with, that might be, or not even an opinion, just like hear out. It's on my show, usually it's more like hearing out whoever's there. I become associated with that, and therefore I'm an agent of so-and-so. I'm paid by so-and-so. And it's because there are literally people that have that happen all the time, that people in the audience righteously, unfortunately, their heads go to, oh, they must be paid or whatever. And it's very sad. This is what I mean by it dragging down on all of us. So
that's a good point.
I'm so with you. And this is why we fucked with each other right away. Like when we met a couple years ago, it's like, you just want to go get it, bro. You want to get the story regardless of what it is. Like if it's bad, it's bad. Let's fucking report on it and let people figure it out from there. And those are the people I do my best to give a platform consistently to and to discuss things with. Doesn't mean I'm going to agree with you on everything. Mm-hmm. That's the healthy part of it. But let's hear it out and then let everyone else out there decide. When you start getting all the money in the way and catering to certain special interests, and that's the other reason, like with the politicians thing, I've never done that. It's like you kind of lose the moment they walk in the room, regardless of what you do. You do. Because it's like, why is he having?
Yeah, right.
Why is he having them in there? You know what I mean? And I don't say this to virtue signal at all. So I apologize if it comes across cringy that way. But sometimes I do wish I could wear a GoPro and people could see the things that I turned down back here that would make me a fuck ton of money and would make me a lot bigger than I am. And I know Joe will attest to that. Yeah. I know Alessi will big time attest to that. And even Danny Gonzalez, who's been on our team for a few months, he'll attest to that. Like Danny actually made it. I'm not going to say what it was, but he made an amazing clip today. And it was one I didn't work on him with. And it's my fault because I didn't check on him with the content ahead of time. And he didn't purposely take anything out of context, but you make a 50-second clip, the context can be changed by accident. And it was a great clip. Watch time was going to be insane. It was going to go.
It's a banger.
It's gone. We didn't post it. It's never getting posted because I'm not going to say what it was. I'm not going to say what episode it was, but not his fault. He didn't know, but it was going to say something that was not representative. And I can't live with that. Doesn't mean I don't make mistakes. I have made some massive mistakes. And
if you make content, bro, you're going to make a mistake. You're going to fall on your face a couple times.
What I don't want to do is know I'm making a mistake, but see dollar signs and say, I'll make that mistake and we'll, And
actually, Julian, I was talking to you about it a little bit off camera. But that happens with influencers, reporters, right? With the dollar signs, you kind of disassociate. But it happens a lot in the mainstream broadcast news where these reporters like disconnect even from a human element. And what I mean by that is I remember just this past year, for folks who don't know, on July 4th is when that tragic news from Kerrville happened, where the first news that first came out of Kerrville, for folks who don't know, this is about an hour out of San Antonio, small Texas town. On July 4th, what kind of went viral first was 20 missing girls in Camp Mystic. And that kind of got started hitting Twitter, and no one really what? These girls are missing. There's a flood. And then obviously the story starts going mega rival. Chrissy Nome puts a statement on X. Trump's going to search resources. And I was the first national reporter to get to Kerrville when the info was very fresh. I remember when I got to Kerrville, it was hey, 10 are dead and we don't know how many are missing. And I remember on day 2, I woke up and I already had that gut feeling of this is going to be a disaster. This is going to be just horrible. This would be major. And I remember I woke up the second day and it was 30 are dead and we don't know how many are missing. I remember lining up for live shots and just hearing how other reporters were treating these missing kids if they were stats, man, and almost gleeful, hey, yeah, 20 people are missing. This is it, and just treating them like stats. It was just so I was so disgusted. How are you so in love with yourself in the camera? You're not even realizing a human moment of what we're in right now. A lot of reporters, man, when these big stories kind of Kerrville break out, and I hate this. For them, it's this career moment. They take selfies, bro. There's families that are
take selfies.
There's families looking for their loved ones, and these guys are taking pictures, posting it on Instagram, smiles on their face, and that. I never want to get to that level. And I remember when I got to Kerrville, I just got that sick feeling. And then I just you know what, Jorge, I'm going to do this so different, man. I'm going to be super empathetic. I'm going to tell the story through the lens of the Americans, family members here. And I'm just not going to be this robot corporate reporting machine that's looking like these people they're not humans. And it just changed the approach. It was just disgusting, man. That kind of was a real learning moment for me too, just to I don't want to ever reach that level. I always want to be down here. I'd never want to be how these guys are. So that's another thing, man. It's these people get disconnected from. First, it starts with maybe the money situation. You kind of not relating to the average American, and then like I said, when I saw that in Kerrville, I was I don't know. I saw reporters, man, taking pictures together. I was just you are insane. There's people are literally looking for their daughter right now. My first moment in Kerrville, I remember I get to a neighborhood and I speak to a neighbor who literally tells me hey, Jorge, that house right there, that just the foundation, that was an entire family. They just got swept away within 2 minutes. We couldn't do anything with kids. And then I remember there was a guy, a Hispanic guy going through the brushes. I was who is that? And it was hey, that's Gustavo. He's looking for his 1-year-old nephew right now. And I remember that what was happening in Kerrville. And then, now we find out it was 120 kids died, over 160 died. And you have journalists, bro, treating it if they're covering the Super Bowl. So that to me is just never want to reach that level. And I highly encourage people to anyone listening, don't forget about Kerrville, man. That was a real powerful event. I left not even the same person after my experience in Kerrville. I was the first national reporter there. I got there.
How many died again?
Over 160, over 120. I think were kids. I was
Can
the first.
Pull up the Wikipedia.
Yeah. I was first national reporter there when Greg Abbott did his press conference. So I right when the governor did, and then I was the last national reporter to leave, and I just really focused on. Yeah, Texas Hill Country. Yeah, it's at least 17. Oh man.
Yeah, these were the infamous floods from last year. On July 4, 2025, destructive and deadly flooding took place in the Hill County region of the U.S. state of Texas. During the flooding, water levels along the Guadalupe River rose rapidly. As a result, at least 135 people were killed, and at least 117 of them in Kirk County. The flooding was caused by, what does that say, mesoscale convective vortex with enhanced tropical moisture.
I do want to say this though, because we're speaking about everything about kind of what's going on in the country and the tensions. One thing that obviously Kerrville was very tragic, but one thing that I did take away though is and this is what I did love is so many Americans flooded Kerrville that had no connection to that city. They didn't know anyone and just wanted to help. You had people in there I'm here to volunteer. I don't care. I'm here to pick up trees, whatever. I'm whatever people need, donate food, and when you're there on the ground. See, online it's tribal. It's team blue, team red. We're fighting all the time. We fight every issue. But in there, man, you actually do see the true America, like real Americans coming together, helping each other out, like literally getting out the mud. They don't want shine. They don't want the cameras on them. And like, still, bro, I don't forget that American spirit. I remember like I was like working Kerrville and like this elderly couple came up to me. I'm like, who, you know, where are you guys coming from? They're like, oh, we were in vacation in like Sweetwater, Florida. But when we saw this, we just had to come down. We don't even know what we could do, but we're here. And so I just want people like forget. Like I know we focus on all that stuff, but like when stuff really hits the fan. That team blue, team red, that's done. And Americans come for Americans, man. And I just remember leaving Kerrville like just super touched by that. But the stories, though, Julian, don't even sound realistic. I interviewed one lady who like woke up already bed floating, looks to her left, and her Ford F-150 is already passing her by. Oh my God. And basically praying to God, and then hung onto a tree for like 15 hours until somebody. And you hear stories upon that. I mean, the amount of fathers that sacrifice themselves to save kids in their flood. I mean, that you know. So I highly encourage people like don't forget about Kerrville. For me myself, I'm gonna be back in Kerrville later this year, following up with all those families. I got a huge connection to the city now, and it changed me. But yeah, like I just wanted to treat those families with respect, telling their stories.
You do it. I've seen you cover a lot of stories. I've seen you cover other hurricanes as well. I've seen you cover some awful tragedies, and you do an amazing job of that. And I think
thank you, man.
You are underlying an important point about the humanity leading first. And that's, by the way, not for nothing, like for the media members who do all the cringe shit, the guy who's like one of the biggest in the world is our friend Brian Enton, who has the same philosophy you do. You lead, yes, you have to report the story. Yes, it's not great, but there is an empathy you have to have for the families involved and for the people there on a personal level. So much so that, and I know you're the same way, like he keeps in touch with all the people from these stories, these millions of stories he's covered, because it touches them in a certain way. And when you see people who are just competing for the it bleeds, it leads, the fear, the fucking anxiety of some horrible story so they can get clicks and get their fucking face out there and shit, it's a horrible thing. And it's, you know, let's not exonerate like what I gotta do here. Like, I got to think about that too with stuff. I'm not on the scene like you, which is a whole different level. But when I go to cover a story that's serious and we're doing it like right then, there's like this rush of like, oh shit, like this is happening. We got to get this out. You know, there's that business aspect to it. But I always, before a podcast like that, will take some time and center myself. You know, maybe it's like 10, 20 minutes and just remember like, yo, I can't see it right now because I'm not there, but like a lot of people are dying. A lot of people might die after this as well, right? These are mothers, sons, friends, brothers, whatever it is. And like that needs to be, we're gonna do this podcast right, but that needs to be what's at the lead in the head here.
And Brian's super good at that, man. Like he really leads with that. Brian's one of the best in the biz. Always looked up to him. And that's why like people all over America trust him. You know, like that's why like Brian just
News Daddy Brian.
Yeah. He's like News Daddy, man. Yeah, I was down in Florida. I was like a year or two ago. I remember like down in Florida for something, and then like Brian came up, and people were like, "Oh yeah, Brian's household name here. He's a killer." But yeah, it's just you know, media is also changing, man, and like those stories I think are so super important to tell. I think I started getting that feeling when back in 2020 during the COVID shutdowns, me and Sognick, who you had on the show before,
my mutual friend with you, the boy Sog, by the way, shout out to Sognick Basu.
He's killing it right now.
He has introduced me to a lot of people over the last couple of years,
very tapped in
and
the
just
game.
One of the best guys. I've been on his show a couple times, and we've replayed some videos on the channel as well. But Sognick's a great dude.
And like in 2020 when there was when all the businesses were shutting down, me and Sognick made a short dog called Takeout Only. We did this beautiful thing, man, where we just interviewed a bunch of restaurant owners, waiters, about literally earning nothing during the shutdown and how they were surviving. And like we focused on that, while when you turn on corporate media, all they cared about was COVID cases, and they were just playing it like ESPN. First of all, that's not even like that to me is insane. Could you imagine if your grandma dies, you turn on CNN and she's just, oh yeah, just another tick. Just a number. Like that's the mindset that a lot of reporters were at in Kerrville. So we always just had that approach where like whatever corporate media is missing, let's find that other angle and let's tell true American stories. And in that process of interviewing all those, like, we're talking about people about to lose everything, their dreams, everything that they've built. And I remember interviewing one waiter who's making nothing, and he goes like, Jorge, this is not even the worst of it. I'm like, what do you mean? He's like, I got to go home to my suicidal daughter now. I'm like, what are you talking about? He's like, I got a daughter who's 10 years old, all-star in sports, all A's, and 6 months into the shutdown, like, she's now cutting herself. She's talking about deleting herself, and she can't look me in the eyes anymore because of social isolation. Like, I don't know what to do. And then that kind of started this whole another thing. Then me and Sagni did a whole another thing where all we did was spend time with kids kind of on that verge and speaking to parents, and we got to put something together on that too. So
back then.
Yeah. And then the cool thing, I think I was talking to you about it, Julian, is for my new YouTube channel is I'm going to do a thing where I'm going to reunite with all these kids who are like on the verge of wanting to harm themselves, and just seeing 6 years later, like, how life looks now. How do they view the world? How do they, remember, they grew up in a time where, like, no high school, no prom, no graduation, probably not working, like, just everything was shutting down. Politicians telling you stay home, while Gavin Newsom was cracking wine in Napa Valley.
Right.
And one of the more powerful stories is a Braden family. This is a family who reached out to me. They're from Vancouver, Washington, and their son shot himself in the mouth with their grandfather's gun, and ended up surviving. Had like less than a 3% chance to live. Went up to Vancouver, Washington, met the family, told that story. But at that time, I never got to meet. His name is Nick. I never got to meet Nick because he was already in the ICU. So this time around will be our first time meeting. But, like, once again, like, these stories, man, are super powerful. Like, you got to really put them together. So just trying to shine a light on, like, those huge stories that corporate media misses, and just trying to kind of get a pulse. Like I said, Gen Z, I think, is gonna have a massive play in the way they view politics and stuff. It's going to be super fascinating.
They're going to be the most fascinating generation, I think, in a while, because you mentioned it earlier, correctly so, what they've lived through. And I know, like, when Tyler Oliveira was in here, we were laying it out. But just to repeat that for people who didn't hear episode 363, it's like, if you are like the peak of Gen Z, right? So Gen Z starts in roughly 96, 97, but even that. But if you're born in like 2000, what is your life? Your life is 9/11, which you don't even remember.
Right.
A bunch of wars that once you have your first memory, we just had a bunch of fucking people over there, and you were getting death toll counts from troops every single day in wars that were going the wrong way for America. The fucking Hurricane Katrina time, and then the blow up of the Bush-Cheney White House at the end when shit was just completely ruined from every level. You have the financial crisis of 2008, so you learned when you were maybe 8 or 9 years old watching your parents lose a job, and suddenly they were so stressed, and maybe they divorced over it, or even something worse, and then you start to realize that, like, you can't afford basic things because now you don't have any money, and then suddenly all the rich people started recovering on the other side because they had money to put in the fire to be able to actually invest in it, but everyone else got left behind. And then the political divide that formed out of that created this huge left-right thing with the Tea Party and the Occupy Wall Street movement in 2011, which then turns into this 2015, 2016 vortex of, like, the Trump dynamite in the middle of Washington, D.C. Then you lived through those 4 basically reality TV show years that were going on, for better or worse. That's not a political statement. It's just like what it was. That culminates with fucking COVID, where you got to go home. You can't fucking touch grandma if she's in the hospital, let alone go visit her. And, you suddenly are disconnected from everyone, and you lose some prime years of your life. Maybe it's high school or college, whatever you're in at that time. And then you get out of it, and now the economy doesn't have jobs for you because AI is coming in. And suddenly we're talking about getting into other wars while you're having a censorship regime come in with open borders and letting in everyone else and taking care of them without taking care of the people who have been here for a long time. You're pretty fucking pissed off at this point. There's no good there. There is no good that has happened in your life at that point. And the fact that, like, pundits and people from other generations can't recognize this pattern to see why Gen Z feels some of the strong ways they do is embarrassing, because the answers are all right there in front of your fucking face.
Dude, it's sad. I don't know if we could Google it, Joey. I think it's like Gen Z now is like more Gen Z is going unemployed now. It's easier for them to be unemployed, living at mom and dad's house and actually, like, working and trying to survive. I think right now we have, like, here in the U.S., record number of able-bodied men just smoking weed, playing video games, living at their parents' house, house, no desire to get a job. Like this system's crumbling. And when you have all these individuals, especially men with no purpose, young men, you're gonna see kind of the societal kind of collapse. Go to college, it's majority women going to college, men are struggling in college.
Also costs what, 60 grand a year now?
And they're never see, for Gen Zers, work is more depressing than unemployment. I mean, this is a recipe for disaster. I mean, where's the executive orders for this? Where's the executive orders for is Gen Z ever going to own a home? I mean, I'm a millennial, I'm 30. It's very difficult to find a 30-year-old that owns a home. So
I don't own a home.
It's even worse for someone in Gen Z. Like this is like a disaster. This is to me a huge issue because this compounds the other things, because now for life it's too expensive for Gen Z to get married. Let's say you're Gen Z, you meet a nice girl, you go to NYU, you're 21, 22, you both want to get married, but you're both grappled with debt. You're gonna have to live in this like super small apartment. You can't have kids really, obviously. There's nowhere to place to raise a family. And all of a sudden, you're literally just living to survive, and your whole life is now just survival mode. I mean, I don't know how you look at this, and don't tell me this is a recipe for disaster. I know in politics we like to fight about all the big headlines, but like to me, these are those underlying issues where it's about to crack. Top of that, we have a psyop in Minneapolis. We got a brewing civil war. It's almost there, man. These protesters, ICE. I mean, this to me, like if you're Gen Z, I would feel like, how am I gonna make it in the game?
It almost feels.
I guess I gotta go to Israel and say no one's starving.
I knew it was coming. I knew it was coming. It was like it's ready to land.
But Julian, you get my pulse on this.
I
know
your pulse.
You.
It almost feels like
me.
it's a plan, Jorge Ventura.
Jesus Christ, but
it almost feels like that's all a part of the plan.
And then, rich are getting richer. I mean, both sides don't really care. The establishment, I mean, both wings. Come on, Julian. We all know the pendulum's going to swing the other way. Mm-hmm. Hey, we'll give you this and that. But I mean, this is a like I said, disaster. I don't know if you could find the one, Joe, that article of the able-bodied men. I know we have like that. To me, they're just smoking weed, chilling at mom's house, no desire. And then, I don't know, man. And then you got women graduating from college at record numbers, where like men are just kind of being left out. I mean, if people think that's a recipe for success for our society, then don't sign me up.
You said something in there that's the most important thing of everything, though. You alluded to the fact that children and reproduction, which is the literal most basic evolutionary aspect of us as a species, has become, and I understand this, sadly, a financial decision. Mm-hmm. Because people have to look at it and go, oh my God, it costs up to do up and have up for a kid. And then what if I can't get a job? And then what if I have to lose my job? And then what if I can't pay my college debt? Mike Rowe warns of troubling trend among working age men, says trades are the answer, which ties in.
And Rowe's been saying, he's like, dude, I got companies contacting me. Hey, I need 10,000 guys to do this. I can't find them. And Rowe's like, they're not out there.
They're not
out there. So, like, think about this. I mean, Julian, if you're a young guy, you're 23, you meet a nice lady, let's say you guys have a kid, maybe you weren't planning to, but then you do. All of a sudden, you're literally just working, so your child's in a daycare. You're not even raising your own kid. Someone else's. And I mean, look, people could say all they want, but like, Mandami won because his media, his messaging reached
That's right.
Economic message saying, right. I will give you that daycare. I mean, people want to make fun of it. It's like, well, what's the Republican solution? You're not really offering folks anything. Of course, they're going to vote for Mandami. They're fighting to survive. Hey, you'll give me free healthcare. I'll take it. I don't care if I'll get taxed over here. I'll take that any day. So I'm saying that's their viewpoint. And now you can't even like raise a family in the United States. Look, I'm Salvadorian. I'm 30 years old. Like my dad crossed when he came to the border legally. Like my dad raised we had a nice middle class life all on one trucker salary. We weren't rich, we weren't poor. We had a nice middle class life in Downey, California. My mom could stay home. She didn't have to work, so she could stay home and raise us. And if we want to go on vacation once every summer, we could do that. That was kind of like the American dream. Now the dad who's a trucker is maybe killing himself working 18 hours a day. The mom now is probably working 2 hours a day. Now she's not really involved in her kid's life. And then, I just don't think the whole system is really, to raise a family in the United States, it's becoming nearly impossible.
It's a huge problem. And I very much look forward to having kids. It has not happened yet. it will at some point here, and I'd like to have several. I'm gonna have to figure out what Mrs. Julian thinks of that. But you know, like that's something I really look forward to doing. But part of also what I'm doing right now is trying to build a foundation also to be able to do that and not have to worry about it. And I say that as someone who does not want to give my kids money at all. I want my kids to make their own way and shit like that. But like also to be able to raise them correctly. And, you know, a huge goal of mine, depending on where society goes with the future of our institutions, which I do have to say, would be to make sure that like my kids have no college debt and stuff like that. I mean, I see that and what that is. That was like to me, and I couldn't understand it at the time, but like, I wasn't an only child by my parents' choice. My mom had like 16 miscarriages. She really wanted to have a big family. It didn't happen. I'm the only unlucky thing that happened to her. But, you know, there are a lot of downsides to being an only child, but there are a lot of upsides too. And to me now, with some age and understanding and seeing where society is, I think one of the biggest upsides that I got, if not the biggest, was the fact that I did not carry college debt. If I had had siblings, I would have had college debt. But because I was an only child, my mom would prioritize my education over everything, right? And so, which I'm extremely grateful for. And so to me, leaving college like that is essentially, in my opinion, like being halfway down the third baseline. So it adds another level to me with like success where I'm saying to myself, like, what the fuck is my excuse? There's no excuse. Like, I have that advantage. So fucking, like, I've been gifted with that. Go take it. You know what I mean? And I shouldn't have to say that. Like, I should not live in a society where people go and sign something when they're 17 because they got 3 siblings and their parents are doing their best but can't afford to cover all their education, and then that affects every decision they make about their life over the next 20 years of their life, which stops them from doing the things and pursuing the dreams that they want to do, which is a legitimate issue that happens far too often, and it's not those people's fault.
Man, dude, that's so spot on. I am so lucky, bro, that the only reason I didn't graduate with any college debt is that Daily Caller gave me a job while I was in community college and I dropped out. So I
just said, fuck it all.
I said, fuck it, man. And I'm hearing some of my friends, I'm like, oh, I cannot relate, bro. Like, yeah, I'm strapped 30, 40. I'm like, ooh.
Yeah, what'd you say when you went to go get hired by Daily Callers and as an intern? What'd you say to them?
Oh, this is great. So I got the opportunity to come to DC for the first time, May 2020, and I meet my boss at that time, Richie McGinnis, in front of the Daily Caller building, in Washington DC, and I go to reach his to go shake his hand, and I just shake his hand, and I look right in his eye, and I go, Richie, I'm Jorge Ventura. Nice to meet you. I just want to let you know I'm a crazy motherfucker. Send me anywhere. And Richie kind of like laughs and he looks at me and goes, I like that. All right. Yeah.
We can work with that.
And little did we know, man, like 2 days later, the George Floyd riots would start. I don't know if you could Google it, Joey, if you just put riot diet is Richie's book, but this guy was my boss. But yeah, man, it was fucking but shout out to Daily Caller, bro, because of them. Your boy dropped out of community college, so I never had to go to UC Northridge, never had to get a debt. Also, shout out to Daily Caller. At that time, every other company was like, you can get an internship here, but we need you to take the shot, sir. And Daily Caller was like, we don't give a fuck. We just want you to rock and roll.
And Richie was one of the witnesses in the Kyle Rittenhouse case.
Richie McGinnis, yes. And Richie McGinnis was my video kind of boss director at the Daily Caller. Man is a genius when it comes to media, news stories, and all that stuff. We hit the ground, me and Richie together, in Seattle when the whole Chaz thing started, where they create that autonomous zone. And it was so dangerous because anyone that would go in there and film, they were knocking your lights out. That's why no local reporters were going there, no national reporter. So Richie comes out with this awesome idea. He goes, hey, man, I'm an intern at this time, bro. This is my boss telling me this. He goes, Jorge, let's go to the liquor store. Let's buy a bunch of White Claws. Let's get a bunch of cigs. And let's just start like ripping White Claws, ripping cigs, passing them out. Let's just act like hippies. And no one would think we're reporters. So my boss is telling me to drink on the job and be a hippie. I'm like, let's do it. So then we started doing that, bro. And it worked to the T. People put their car down. Right. And then we started filming all the disaster that was going on in Seattle.
Resist.
Right, yeah. Do all the greatest hits. All cops are bastards. I got that one in there. And yeah, we basically became... Now it's known as the Riot Squad, the DC Riot Squad, but we became the first reporters to crack the corporate media narrative on Black Lives Matter, because when I hit the ground, it was still, the narrative was this is 100% peaceful. And I hit the ground in DC and they were burning up small businesses, assaulting business owners. I watched this photojournalist get his head stomped. And so I started becoming the first reporter to break that
you were
mold.
there for that. That was a famous video.
I was in DC for the very first Black Lives Matter protest, to the point they were fighting Secret Service. About 2,000 were outside the White House midnight fighting Secret Service. They had to put Trump under a bunker. And that was my first story. I hit it as an intern, boom, and then we kind of hit it off. So, but Richie is just he's one of the best in the biz. I highly recommend people to read the book. He was one of the key kind of star witnesses in the Rittenhouse trial. We were on the ground for Rittenhouse. Richie was in front. It's fucking crazy, man. He was in front of the guy Rosenbaum. So when Rittenhouse shot, Rosenbaum gets hit in the head and drops in front of Richie. And then Richie, like at that moment, bro, like your body does fight or flight. It doesn't know what's going on. So Richie took off his shirt, strapped it on Rosenbaum's head, picks him up, and like some random truck drives by. They hop in the truck, and then I don't know, the guy ends up dying in his arms. And I was there that night, and I remember like when that moment went down with Rittenhouse, bro. Kenosha's a small town. When Rittenhouse shot, people thought that guys were in cars just lighting up everyone. So people were running up to me, get in the hotel, they're shooting at everyone. I'm like, what? So I run into my hotel and I'm trying to call Richie, and little did I know that he's dealing with Rosenbaum and that whole thing. But yeah, it's one of the most crazy insane times. And I think one thing that you'll appreciate, Julian, about Richie is, and I won't say who, but a lot of folks on the right wanted him to grift off that and become famous and become like that guy. And Richie was like, dude, you guys don't get it, man. It's like real people died that day. It's not something we like celebrate. And then
crazy.
And then, dude, I got to tell you this, Julian. So then later that year, because I'm with the Daily Caller, so I cover obviously the conservative events for the Daily Caller. I go to AmFest TPUSA that year, and there's no rumblings that Rittenhouse was gonna show up. Like no one knows that he was gonna come, and because Rittenhouse kind of has been hiding since the Kenosha shooting. So
is this after? I'm sorry. Is this after he's found not guilty?
So this is after he's found not guilty, right?
That was November 21.
So I go to I go to AmFest to do reporting and go interview a bunch of congressmen for the Caller, and we're in that area where like all the whole crowd's at. Rittenhouse shows up. You would have thought Drake pulled up to AmFest. The way that those crowds flooded this kid who's like 18-year-old at the time, who's I guess famous for shooting, and I mean, I guess this makes you famous. They flooded this kid. Every influencer, conservative, with no matter how big their following was, when Rittenhouse stepped in, turned into a fangirl. All the women that were flooding Rittenhouse, oh my, people on live, hey, my mom wants to say hi to you. You're a hero, and this and that. And then somehow I got a buddy. He got me a backstage pass in Tampa, so I go backstage. And I'm just studying humans, bro, because I just love to observe. I'm not on the right or left. I don't care, but I'm watching how this kid is being propped up, and I'm in backstage, and I'm looking at Rittenhouse, and I could see that the moment is too effing big. It's too much. He's like sweating. He's kind of pacing. So many people are saying what's up. It's like getting too much. He's realized like, dude, I'm about to hit the main stage with like Charlie Kirk, and it's getting too much. And like they finally get him a handler to like block off the people. And I'm just looking at this kid. I'm like, dude, he's 18. Man.
He's 18.
He's going through so much. And then there was this moment, bro, where like Rittenhouse gets to go. He's about to walk the stage. So then I'm like, you know what? Let me take a video of this. So I followed him. Right shot. I'm taking a shot of just him walking up and hitting the stage. So Rittenhouse walks up, hits the stage, fireworks go off, and I just, I take the video, then I go to X, and I just post like a, neutral cap, hey, Rittenhouse, like the stage at AmFest, blah, 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 blah. The video goes viral, but both sides take it. The right takes it and goes, this guy's awesome. He's a hero. He's a Second Amendment guy. So the right takes it, bro, and they obviously turn it into like, this Rittenhouse is super sick. The left takes my video, and it's like, these guys are psychos. They're celebrating a killer. So they both took my video, bro, and took whatever political narratives. But what I appreciate, though, at least that time, bro, is Richie was always hiding. He was not looking for clout. He was not looking for fame. He could have made millions of dollars.
I'm sure. Good for him.
But he stuck to just, but this kind of goes back to what I was saying, Julian, is some people, bro, when in this world that we're in, they just disconnect. Maybe it's the fame, the clicks, something. and they're not even like operating on like just a human level.
That's
and,
right.
and Richie was always there. He always stayed center, never wanted anything from it, and it was just like he just thought it was like I do too. He thought it was psycho. People were inviting him to speak about it. Like,
yeah,
like
no,
it was like
it's
a thing.
it's crazy. I remember I got COVID really bad when that trial was going on, and so it was like a week where I had to cancel guests that were coming in. So I had to do a solo. I went and got like those monoclonal antibodies. My doctor was like, "Go get those," and they like worked really well. But at the this is like still like peak COVID time, and so I had to do a solo episode for the first time at that point in like 60 episodes. It was episode 75, and I haven't like gone back and reviewed that tape, but I remember my opinions from it, and then I remember a lot of the commentary I got from people saying, something looking at this in a balanced way, and I still stand by what I thought. I really believe I had the right take there. It was like when you look at the case, the kid did act in self-defense, and not that this matters for proving murder or not. The guy that he killed was also a pedophile too, which adds an angle to it. But like he was acting in self-defense and all that. He also never should have been there. He never should have. A 17-year-old shouldn't fucking grab his gun, get in the car, drive across state lines, and go try to be a fucking hero at some event, wearing fucking shooter gloves and shit in the middle of that. So like, I'm like, it's wrong that I felt it was wrong the kid was put on trial, and it was correct that he was found not guilty, and he's a young kid. He, made a mistake of wrong place, wrong time. He should be able to go live his life, live and let live, nothing personal. But like the whole deification of him over that, that's why I like appreciate Richie's viewpoint on this, because I'm sure there's massive PTSD there as well. Like he witnessed a dude, there's a ugliness to just the human element when something like that happens, regardless of what the motivations are, who does it or why they do it. But like, I felt like exactly as you did, the left is wrong to try to say send this kid to prison for life. That's just legally wrong. And the right felt like, again, the pendulums. They had to feel like they had to have the opposite response. No, not only is that wrong, he's a hero too. And it's just,
It was also sick, Julian, because like after that, like you could see all these like conservative podcast hosts how they basically had Rittenhouse doing the rounds, and I'm just like, you guys know what you guys are doing. You're just using this kid for clout. Really quick, bro, could I piss? I don't get to do it.
Hell yeah, because I was just going to ask you as well. We'll be back. We got to talk cartels, Iran, and a few other things. We'll be right back. All right, we're back. So we haven't gotten into like the cartels, or like we touched it from a political perspective, but like some border stuff, which you've done a lot of stories on this. And you've also, like, you're plugged in that world. You're the reason Katarina Schultz got on this podcast, which thank you for that. That worked out well for everybody involved.
We got Ed on.
We got Ed on as well.
John
who's coming
Norris.
back on, Ed Calderon. So, and you got John Norris too.
That's my boy, dude, John.
You know what's up. And there's a lot of shit going on. But right now, I've had some different guys on recently where we've talked cartels. There's some different perspectives because people hear different things. But obviously, especially post the El Mayo thing, Sinaloa's having their faction wars. Yep. And so that's caused them to lose some power and everything. But right now, with these narco terrorists, as the United States has declared them, who are like the Power Five, and what are they doing right now that you're hearing?
So right now, the two big that I'm hearing is, okay, so like this is nothing new, but like right now, Sinaloa cartel is still involved in their own civil war. So you got like Los Chapitos versus the El Mayo faction. The issue for the El Mayo faction is that one of El Chapo's son, I believe, is Ovio. He could be singing really quick. He's gonna have a hearing really soon, and he could start to reveal some of the secrets from the other side. So I expect a crackdown. Like I feel like right now the Sinaloa cartel, from what I'm gathering, is at its weakest point ever, because you have the pressure of the United States. When we started learning about the CIA drone flying, it was flying off the coast of Sinaloa. So they're in the middle of a civil war. You have also the Mexican administration feeling that pressure from the administration. So they're cracking down heavy. What I found interesting too, Julian, was last year, it was the first time that I saw HSI, like Homeland Security Investigations. Their agents did a cooperation with Mexican forces in Sinaloa. Mm-hmm. So they're gathering in town. So I think Sinaloa is going to fall. It might not
fall.
Might not fall complete, but they're at a very weak point. We'll see kind of the way it goes, and it could splinter to something else. I think people need to forget, like, just because a cartel falls, it could still splinter into another paramilitary group. We saw that with Los Zetas, but right now, Cartel Jalisco Nueva Generación is the most powerful number one.
CJNG.
CJNG. They are now, we're learning from new reporting, they were responsible for killing the European mayor, who was like super outspoken against the cartel violence. They infiltrated his inner circles, his security guards, and they're the ones that came up with the murder. CJNG, the reason that makes them powerful as of this moment is that they have dealings with, so does the Sinaloa cartel, but not the way the CJNG, with the Chinese chemical makers of the precursors for fentanyl. So right now, there's an agreement with the cartels. Basically, the Chinese need Mexican cartels, the access to Mexico. If you actually just even look up China and Mexico's relationship, it's getting very, very cozy, something to watch for. But they need them for the access to Mexico to then traffic fentanyl into the United States. But the most important thing is they need access to Mexican banks, and then Mexican banks need the access to Chinese banks for the money laundering. So right now, when on the issue of illegal marijuana, basically kind of the underlying agreement is the Mexicans are going to let the Chinese run the black market marijuana businesses in the United States. They're essentially going to let them have at it, and they're slowly going to get out of that. And that's why the Chinese are flooding the illegal marijuana like crazy, sending money to China through multiple banks. A lot of lawyers are involved, a lot of phony stuff. Maine is becoming like a hotspot for us.
Triads are involved. I had Steve Robinson in.
He's awesome. I was just in Oklahoma again, and it's almost 99% are Chinese. So they're going to have the access to the illegal marijuana market. There's a lot of reasons the Chinese need that because of the black market funding, and also they brought in a bunch of Chinese nationals through the border, something I was heavily covering. And the thing is now the Mexicans still need that access to those chemical precursors to keep that kind of drug pipeline alive right now. So that's something to watch for. So there's a lot of money laundering between the two. What was fascinating, I was just speaking with some authorities in Northern California. Northern California has been infamous with the illegal marijuana with Mexican nationals, cartels, but that's come over to almost completely Chinese run. And we're now getting the first reports of these kind of Chinese chemicals finally making it from China through Mexico into these marijuana grows. And it's a big deal because all of these grows always had illegal pesticides and chemicals coming from Mexico. And these chemicals, you need them to protect the plant. So it's a lot of fascinating crossover between the two. Just if you just look at Mexico and China, just like the countries themselves, it's getting easier now for Chinese nationals to fly to Mexico without a visa.
Fly to Mexico without a visa.
Yeah, I cover a lot of the I report in Tijuana a lot, so I always cross on foot from the San Ysidro port of entry into Tijuana, and like always, obviously, when you cross a port of entry, like all of the signage is going to be in English, right? Because it's like Americans going in. Now you go and like half of the signage is in Mandarin. If you go to Tijuana, I was just in Tijuana like a few days ago meeting with a couple of fixers. Half of Tijuana looks like it's in Beijing now, filled with Chinese nationals. Mexicali is even worse. Mexicali is like total China now. So
we're still having. Now you're reporting a lot of stuff.
Like
Mexico side,
my reporting is closer. Like it follows the cartel, but if my reporting is always following closer to that Chinese Mexican cartel relationship and how it plays over in the United States. I know other reporters like strictly just follow cartel in Mexico and all that cool stuff, but I'm American, so the China thing I was found fascinating because I was the first reporter in 23 to break the surge when they were reaching South Texas. I got a tip off that Chinese nationals were reaching McAllen, particularly by an 1,000% spike. And I was the first reporter to get an actual interview with a Chinese national who told me we're paying cartels up to $35,000 to basically cross through Mexico and into the United States safely. The whole system at flying to Ecuador, that already went viral.
Bro, you laid that out last
perfectly,
time.
Bro. Perfectly. It went viral for us.
You know what was weird about that clip though, Jorge? So it got to over 10 million in like 2 days on my channel, and then it got ripped and shared all over the internet, and then it got censored. So it was doing 120,000 views an hour with a watch time of fucking 110, 111%. And look through enough fucking numbers over the last 6 years to know when things go wrong. And it went down from 120 immediately within 2 hours down to fucking 200 and being shown to no one, which was very interesting. And what you reported was the whole system to get through South America across the Darien Gap all the way up into Mexico, around and to the border to then get on the other side and have this system in place that basically allows us to lose them, where people either become straight up spies for the regime, they get taken into basically indentured servitude to serve on these different illegal weed farms and stuff like that, or they go somewhere else in the country according to the directions they get, and we never see them again. And maybe they set up base, close to a military base.
That's the other issue. I don't know if really quick, Joey, if we could Google just put Mexican, Chinese illegal marijuana banks. The connection to me, bro, is fascinating. I think that's the one thing that's getting super slept on. I know it's always sexy to look at Mayo captured in the civil wars and they're killing this mayor. That Chinese-Mexican connection is damning. And the thing is, what's scary with the Chinese is when I was coming across them at the border, they all had this system where they were ripping and burning their IDs at the border. So they're coming to the United States. We don't know who they are, and even if they had a passport, when the United States looks them up, China's not going to share any background information with the United States government. There is, here it is, dude.
How Chinese networks are using U.S. banks to launder drug cartels cash. This is September 2nd, 2025, from Corone, the brief. The Treasury Department warned last week that Chinese money laundering networks are moving billions of dollars through U.S. financial institutions for Mexican drug cartels, helping enable the flow of deadly fentanyl into the United States. The Financial Crimes Enforcement Network Advisory and Financial Trend Analysis detail the vital role, in quotes, that the Chinese networks now play for groups including the Sinaloa Cartel and Cartel de Jalisco Nueva Generacion, CJNG, both of which the U.S. designated as foreign terrorist organizations earlier this year. Chinese money laundering networks are global and pervasive and must be dismantled, Director Andrea Gacki said in a news release. She urged banks to flag customers suspected of laundering cartel funds. And again,
Julian, just to note the wrench here, Julian, I've been speaking with some law enforcement folks who obviously they're cracking down on this. They think Trump's rescheduling of marijuana is going to make it actually a lot worse for them. It's going to open up that black market more. It's going to flood. And like I said, the Chinese are heavily involved with the Mexican cartel. I don't know why this little story just couldn't. It's got completely slept on. It's super tied to the legal marijuana. I'm telling you right now, you go up in North Cal, you go to Oklahoma, it's dwindling the illegal marijuanas that are operated by Mexican nationals, all going to the Chinese.
And one of the early stories, in addition to happen to be covering the fucking riots that were going on the second you started at Daily Caller, one of the early things that helped you break through that you outlined the last time you were in here was the fact that you were able to track down a bunch of these illegal grows and plants in California and film it and make a documentary with Sognick about it back in 2020, 2021, where, there were car chases and stuff, and people trying to get you off armed and shit like that. It's been around, and there's when we got John Norris in here, thanks to you, he was onto this in fucking 2003 when he was running Fish and Game. Yeah, or 2004 or
John's
something like that.
John's partner got shot in the fucking knee by Mexican nationals, AK-47, armed to the... and then, that was in 03. And then I meet John, and then we worked on a documentary together. And then John's like, I can't even believe this got 100 times worse. And the thing is, when John was dealing, it was strictly a Mexican problem. When we started doing our doc, we started to get the Chinese element in it. At that time, it was San Bernardino County, and it spread. Then I get a call to go to Oklahoma. When I touched on Oklahoma, that it was game over. 99% of those illegal grows in Oklahoma, Chinese. And you got lawyers getting these guys fake permits. They're smuggling Chinese nationals to work on
permits.
Yeah, getting fake marijuana permits. Lawyers. So a lot of the Chinese government and the CCP, they're basically paying off American lawyers, attorneys to get these fake marijuana permits in Oklahoma. And then they're also smuggling Chinese nationals to work on the grows. They're also smuggling Chinese national women to have sex with the workers. So there's some sex rings in these marijuana grows. This is, to me, one of the biggest stories. And I'm talking to a lot of law enforcement. They think the rescheduling of marijuana is going to make this black market just flood, because it's going to make it harder to crack down.
It makes it harder to how for people out there who see it go from Schedule 1 to Schedule 3, which, regardless of what you're going to say next, the fact that it was ever Schedule 1 is insane. However, what is like the, I don't know, science behind the fact that it will make this particular problem so much worse now that it's a Schedule 3 versus Schedule 1?
So from what I'm hearing from law enforcement is it's going to be much harder to get a warrant to then raid an operation. And if they do raid an operation, they need to find like hard evidence of human trafficking, weapons, or something to tie it to an actual crime. But if they don't, they're just basically, it's just marijuana plants and they could just leave. So like in California, what kind of open up the floodgates is the illegal marijuana operations were all happening on public land. So they'd be happening like Yosemite national parks. But when they decriminalized it, and then you could basically do it in your home, they basically this is like John told me, he's like essentially could use criminals could use a constitution against you, because now you need it's a whole process to then get to that grow. But up in, like I said, California exploded. It all went up to northern Oregon, southern Oregon, and then Oklahoma was like never on the radar. Now Oklahoma has an issue. I know you just had Steve Arbor with the Maine, so it's getting these other states and like all these
Maine shit's crazy.
Yeah, and then now I think like Massachusetts is like kind of pulling back on legalizing weed in some areas. But I think this to me continues to be one of the most underrated stories. I got to see both sides of it. I got to see the illegal marijuana grow, and then I actually got to be on the border when I saw the tens of thousands of Chinese just
Tens of
come in.
thousands.
Tens of thousands. I was a first reporter 2023. I was in South Texas. I don't know if you could go on my X, Joey. You could just put like Jorge Ventura, and we could just put like Chinese nationals and search. But like in 2023, I was the first reporter to start reporting on the surge in South Texas. That's where we find out the Ecuador and the price tag. I then get to San Diego, to an area called Jacuba Hot Springs, an hour out of San Diego North, and then that's the area that it hit by the tens of thousands. They came in flooding, and then the Chinese were like, "Oh yeah, we're crossing in. The cartel's taking care of us." And then we fly to Cancun. From Cancun, we fly to Tijuana. From Tijuana, smugglers pick them up. They drive them an hour out of Tijuana in an area called Tecate, and boom. Majority of migrants I encountered in Jacuba Hot Springs are Chinese nationals who traveled through 7 different countries to the U.S. Most Chinese nationals fly to Ecuador to begin their journey to the U.S. since the South American country does not require travel visa. Click on on those pictures of those lines, bro. Look, clean. Do they look, bro? Did they struggled to get through Mexico? No. Now, here they're just waiting to be picked up. That's why they're intense and stuff. But look, clean,
That's a
bro.
nice jacket.
Clean. Look at the women. Clean.
They brought their masks too. They're ready to go. That is not.
See, Joy, if I have any other tweets with the word Chinese nationals, like there should be like a
crazy, bro.
But they just started coming, bro, by the tens of the thousands. And think about this, bro. If you're the cartel, this isn't Chinese, but this is just kind of to point out to people. This is me finding kids by themselves, bro, with notes. So these kids here, they're found, bro, with notes. Contact Maria in South Carolina. This is the number. Or contact Jose in Wisconsin. This is the number. This is real life. That's real life human trafficking. That's real. On the ground, a lot of these reporters try to talk about it from a newsroom and caring about. That's real. We encountered that kid. That kid we only encountered because that woman migrant ran to us. It's like, this baby I just found.
He's fucking 4, 5. Did you say 2?
Okay, look,
he's 2?
This is what I said in the tweet. Moments ago, we encountered a 2-year-old boy.
He's 2.
Yeah, unaccompanied minor who was abandoned at the border, according to the migrant woman who found the boy. He's wearing a makeshift ID with a Louisiana address. We encountered them with a group of Chinese nationals who just crossed illegally into Texas.
Oh my God.
Your boy has seen a lot, bro, and that's like there's people who talk about it. That's real life. We're seeing the ring, and guess you know what, Julian? I guarantee you, bro. We did. I already know it. This boy, we did follow-ups. We can't find them in the United States. You know,
this is why. Like we talked about it earlier. I just want to dovetail the point that this is why Trump won the election.
Keep it right here, Joey. If I could read that one, this is right here. This is May 23. I'm the reporter. I get in there. I say number of Chinese nationals are crossing illegally into the U.S. and are paying cartels up to $30,000 to making them a valuable commodity to criminal smuggling groups. Chinese nationals tell us they are flying to Ecuador, begin their journey from there. This is the first wave, like I said, in 23, but it hit South Texas. Because, dude, for these guys, they've never encountered someone that speaks Mandarin. They're like, what? No. You then boom, bro. But then in San Diego. Really quick, Joey, in the search, can we put in my tweets, just put the word Jacumba? And I know it's a little weird, but Jacumba Hot Springs. Just take away the Jorge Chinese. Yeah, if we could just put Jacumba Hot Springs. Yeah, I would take out that and just put Jacumba Hot Springs, and we'll find a bunch of stuff that I got from that area. But it's mine.
Here we go. Majority. Well,
that might be the same.
That
Yeah,
was
but I got way more
23.
tweets on it. Oh yeah, like happening now. Look at this one, Julian.
This is a line.
Look at this line.
Where
all
they're
happening
about
at
to- Where's Moses? They crossing the Red Sea?
Look at the luggages. Look how clean.
They got some fucking Toomey bags.
Look at that.
That is fucking nuts. That is actually fucking nuts.
And this shot right here that we're watching, that happened on accident. I'm doing a live shot for NewsNation, and I tell the cameraman, "Hey man, I'm gonna go to the gas station." Driving down, look to my left, boom. I said, "Whoa, rip that you." and then these are Indian nationals, I think, at the tail end. But oh yeah, look at this.
there's
Look at that,
more.
bro.
This is just one
Hey,
spot.
and think about this, guys. Cartel, 30 grand ahead, 30 grand. There's a massive connection with the Chinese to like. I don't know if we could even. I don't know if there's even news article. There's, like I said, guys, Mexico and China, they're cozying up a relationship with those governments.
Here, you started this point though with the article we pulled up about the comments on the ties between Mexicans with the Chinese and banking institutions. The part that rings hollow though is they talked about directly in there them laundering money for the cartels, and like totally agree they should be called out and stopped and continue doing that by all means.
No crackdown.
But maybe no crackdown. Even before that, though, let's say they actually do end up cracking down. You did the same thing. You're the United States government, my government, did the same thing for these guys. Roll the tape. Episode 290. He'll tell the whole story. I had the guy in here who fucking had to do it. And it's just like...
It's crazy, bro, huh?
Who's the, what's the Godfather? The Besanavante on the string. Who's holding that? Why?
See if I got any more joy on these tweets. This is crazy, bro, to watch these again. These are just guys, these are all people in your country right now, and they're all here chilling.
Because they're allowed to keep going after this. They don't get arrested.
And you got to remember, so here, bro, I did a thing where all these are armed smugglers, bro, that were just flooding the zone. I mean, flooding.
Those are armed smugglers?
Yeah.
On the other side.
Yeah. So I say armed smugglers and SUV drive groups of migrants right up to the border and guide migrants through open gaps in Jacuba Hot Springs, California. It's one of the most dangerous areas along the border in Mexico, where the desert is filled with unsolved murders. I also went to the other side to do the reporting. We headed to the location, embedded with Mexican. I had to go with Mexican military, bro. I couldn't be there. And we set up a kind of command center at one of the open gaps. Yeah, I had to go in with, look, right there, bro. I go in embedded with these guys. It's like, yo, dude, they're going to shoot you. There's armed motorcycle guys.
What were those guys saying? What was their take on the Mexican military? What was their take on all this?
Oh, they felt like they're like, dude, it's fucked. Like the cartels basically just ramping us up. Like basically all those migrants, bro, it fucks everything up for all these guys. So, I think the only American journalist, bro, that traveled to Tecate and reported from that open gap. I mean, right there is we're in hot zone central, right here. I mean, we could get lit up.
What is because even that banking article specifically alluded to the fentanyl. We've been talking mostly in the context of like the illegal weed grows and stuff like that. But we also know, it's not like 15 years ago or something. Like I get nervous about this for my future kids if somehow, hopefully it's not, but this is still a problem. It's like if they go to get handed a joint when they're 14, does it have fucking fentanyl sprinkled in it or something? Like what have you seen any stem of the flow of fentanyl as a result of Trump coming into office?
So when it comes to the flow of fentanyl, this is the difficult thing is, it looks sexy to say like we seized this amount, but at the end of the day, dude, 90% of the fentanyl is still coming in through the port of entry. So it's
through the port of entry.
It's still making it to the
Being
U.S.
smuggled
super easy. Yeah, it's very few that's in these open gaps. I know it looks sexy on movies and sometimes the news plays it, but 90% of that fentanyl is coming in the cars.
So what do they do? Put it in coffee containers and shit?
All types of stuff. I mean, they have all types of hidden record, but the number one is that they're just bribing the U.S. Border Patrol, whoever the port of entries are. So like
that's the number one way they're doing it.
Yeah, because
they're bribing Border Patrol.
So Border Patrol kind of gets an alert like, hey, this red Tacoma, and they'll let it pass, and it has
that's life in prison,
and it has
that's life in prison.
fentanyl, and like I said, bro, there's a huge connect, and a lot of the precursor chemicals, it's making it through the ports of Mexico, so they're hiding in different trailers and shipments. I reported a little bit on it, but it's also like there's this valuable fish that these guys want, the toba fish, and it's like it's also being illegally smuggled through those ports of Mexico. It's called like toa fish. It's like this rare fish that is being like the Chinese just absolutely love, that the cartels smuggling for them. So I did a little bit of reporting on that when I was with NewsNation, but these chemical precursors, all those ports of Mexico are getting flooded with them. Guys obviously looking the other way. U.S. Border Patrol on the borders looking the other way. They're also flooding like the ports in Canada, because in Canada they don't even have any really systems.
Canada's fucking crazy,
Canada's fucked. So they don't even have any systems to check. Here in Mexico, you just have corruption. I mean, the guys at the port look the other way. Also, I mean, they'll probably get killed if they say anything. But U.S. Border Patrol officials, bro, for sure, getting bribed up. Know this from insiders, and look other way. Hey, this Ford F-150, okay. Jose Gonzalez,
that's life in prison. Yeah. If you get caught doing that,
people think like I could totally get, like, if you don't follow the news, like as an American, like, oh yeah, like you think fentanyl, you think guy big bundle backpack goes through the Rio Grande, yada crosses. Yeah, does that happen? Sure, but it's very like, we're talking about 10 to 5%, but the 90 is through those port of entry.
Oh my God!
And we have come on, Julian, we have the best. We're the United States. We have the best technology in the goddamn world.
That's what I'm saying, dude. A fucking dog. I mean, just start with forget the technology. Get some German shepherds out there. Get the party started.
Yeah,
like,
I mean,
Jesus
dude,
Christ.
you talk about that Juarez border. You don't think everyone in that El Paso port of entry is bot? Come on, man. Come on, we're talking about the Juarez Cartel, crazy. Bro. They got these guys on like, and it maybe it's not even always bot, bro. Maybe it's one of those border patrol. Maybe you just send him a picture of his mom's house. Just be like, hey, bro,
now
play the game, play the game. Don't be a hero.
Yeah,
don't be a hero. Don't think you're gonna be Captain America. Just play the game, and everything's gonna go smooth. You'll be able to sleep at night.
Yeah,
mom won't get touched. But it's that game on the border, bro.
Dirty.
Yeah,
that's
because when I report, bro, like a lot of these Texas DPS guys on like Texas DPS guys cannot put a foot in Mexico. It'd be a death sentence. I mean, they got probably so much information on those guys, but if they talk to any guy Texas DPS, you vacation in Mexico? Hell no. Like so like.
Do you ever worry about people coming after you?
Yeah. Especially, bro, when we did the documentaries and we were falling like that heavy, we got a real hairy situation. Especially when I was with Sagnik. I mean,
which cartel?
It'd probably be more connected to the Sinaloa when we were reporting out of Southern Cal. So it's extremely dangerous. And like, I mean, the border I was super worried about, bro. Because anything could happen. I go to Mexico a lot. I did a lot of reporting in Mexico. So
I could see over there. That kind of goes without saying. But I'm saying, like, when you're walking around here in the United States, you worried about blowback from Sinaloa?
Oh, a little bit,
who's pissed off?
Yeah, especially with the Chinese connection, bro, because you don't have too many reporters kind of digging that angle. I think a lot of reporters, they fall in love with the sexy headlines of cartel report. I mean, credit to everyone that does it. It's just that, like, I'm an American at the end of the day, and like at the end of the day, CCP is an enemy of us, and it's just like, this is all weird. Oh, I mean, not weird, but it's just like how it happened, and like this code, like I said, bro, like even just crossing the port of entry on foot, like, why is now half the signage in Mandarin? Right. I go to Tijuana, you go grab a drink at like the party, why is it's all Chinese nationals? Yeah, Mandarin. You speak to the locals, like they're like, they're flooding us. Go to Mexicali, it's basically Beijing. I mean, and the thing is, you think Chinese are coming to Mexico because like they like Mexico? No, there's that bigger picture with, and obviously I've seen you cover, Julian, like they're set up next to our military base. All this weird stuff. All these they'll be like when I remember it was a few months ago, bro. Trump was like, oh, we're gonna welcome in 600,000 Chinese students. It's like, you do know that these students are getting caught for espionage, and maybe not all of them, but come on, man. Like, let's not.
You want to talk about people threatening families and stuff. Before they sent here, they're like, you like your mom, you like your dad, good. Go to the United States, go to this college and report back. So, I mean, those people are all, they live under, again, separating people from their government.
I don't know, Joe, you want to just put like Chinese student espionage, and there'll be like 10 different stories.
Yeah, dude. Oh, there's a lot more than 10. It's like, there's some people that are true believers, and fuck them, scumbags. But like, there are a lot of people that it's like, yo, you have a duty to the CCP to do this, and if you don't, bye family. And then they come here and they spy.
And then, dude, I'd be on the border, and like, why does every Chinese national cross? Why are they all destroying their IDs? All burnt, destroying any identification. Their WhatsApp groups are very, very organized. I remember when I was at, they would get caught, not get caught. They were being apprehended by Border Patrol. Then they would be released in 3 days. When they were released in San Diego, I would they would have their own Chinese drivers waiting for them, because in the area that this is like kind of funny, in the area that I was in, it was all these like Somali immigrant taxi drivers, and then the Somalis were getting pissed because all the Chinese were setting up their own taxi drivers. And what was interesting is when the Chinese nationals met their taxi driver, first thing that driver always did, hands them a cell phone in exchange for money. So like they'll probably have a pesos, or I don't know if they have Chinese money, but it's probably pesos, and they would get US dollar. And then all those Chinese nationals were getting driven in taxis all the way to LAX. They actually wouldn't fly out of San Diego airport. Don't know why, but they would go to LAX, and then from LAX they'd fly to another part of the country.
And they had they had
spread.
directions on this. This was actually one of the things when Nick Shirley was here in June 2024. He had physical evidence, which was pretty compelling, that he had recovered at the border of Mandarin directions that were recovered on some of these Chinese nationals coming in, that had literal directions of how to game everywhere to go, like that whole Darien Gap thing and whatever. I believe it, correct me if I'm wrong, go back and review that episode. It might have even started with their early, like, where to fly into in South America, but at the very least, the directions once they were getting to the border and what to do, and then what to do when they get in there, and then using our legal rights that we're giving them against us to be able to basically disappear into the system. They had full go here, then report to this court system. They'll give you a date, then leave there and go here.
It was
fucking insane.
In Colombia, bro, I saw one of those. Like, so in Colombia, they had like Chinese hotels where to stay in Colombia. All of them had the directions of like when you cross the border into Mexico, like which waiver was going to get them to Cancun, and then from Cancun go straight to Tijuana. Tijuana, they already had the driver, and just rinse and repeat. Like, I mean, this stuff to me is like, has to be a bigger deal. But that like I said, that Chinese Mexican connection is something to watch for. And I think that, to be honest, Julian, is going to keep CJNG very much alive, and could also basically be funding maybe a paramilitary fight with the United States, because they got to know that moment's it's going to happen somehow.
Right. So you're saying the United States, obviously we've already declared them narco-terrorist groups, so that gives us some extra abilities to attack them. But in order to say the attack is validated, are you saying that adding the angle of the fact that the CCP is directly working with, say, the CJNG?
I think just with the foreign terrorist declaration, they already have the leeway, because now Trump doesn't need to go to Congress. Right. I mean, I don't know if they'll tie it to the CCP, but it's like, you know, so I feel like right now, if you're the Cartel Jalisco Nueva Generación, you're using all this money, you're bankrolling it, you're getting more guys from the Mexican military, because remember, these guys are paramilitary guys, and they could possibly be getting ready or gearing up for a potential fight with some type of U.S. Special Forces. You know, who knows what that's look like. And
so this article, Deef, investigation uncovering Chinese academic espionage at Stanford. This is from May 2025 in the Stanford Review. This summer, a CCP agent impersonated a Stanford student under the alias Charles Chen. He approached several students through social media. Anna, a Stanford student conducting sensitive research on China, began receiving unexpected messages from Charles Chen. At first, Charles's outreach seemed benign. He asked about networking opportunities, but soon his messages took a strange turn. Charles inquired whether Anna spoke Mandarin, then grew increasingly persistent and personal. He sent videos of Americans who had gained fame in China, encouraged Anna to visit Beijing, and offered to cover her travel expenses. He would send screenshots of a bank account balance to prove he could buy the plane tickets. Alarmingly, he referenced details about her that Anna had never disclosed to him. He advised her to enter China for only 24 to 144 hours, short enough, he said, to avoid visa scrutiny by authorities, and urged her to communicate exclusively via the Chinese version of WeChat, a platform heavily monitored by the CCP. When Charles commented on one of her social media posts asking her to delete screenshots of their conversations, she knew this was serious. Wow. Under the guidance of experts familiar with espionage tactics, Anna contacted authorities. Their investigation revealed that Charles Chen had no affiliation with Stanford. Instead, he had posed as a Stanford student for years, slightly altering his name and persona online, targeting multiple students, nearly all of them women researching China-related topics. According to the experts on China who assisted Anna, Charles Chen was likely an agent of the Chinese Ministry of State Security, MSS, tasked with identifying sympathetic Stanford students and gathering intelligence. That's
it's bleak, man. It's bleak.
It's definitely a little bleak. And by the way, this is what I'm talking about earlier. And this is one of the places with like the anti-Israel crowd that drives me nuts. Everyone talks about them paying for trips for people to come kiss the wall. Can we talk about that with the nation with the second highest GDP in the world? Okay,
True, yep.
talk about all of it. Don't not talk about that, but like don't select. This is why I say to both sides of the issue, don't selectively ignore the thing. Like if you're about America, don't selectively ignore the things that are bad for America, regardless of where they come from. And like everyone wants to see us fall, bro.
Everyone, yeah.
Name a country that like wants to not see us fall. Maybe the UK. I don't know about that these days. You know what I mean? And it's no disrespect. I'm not saying the people want that. I'm saying governments and espionage organizations.
Yeah, not the people. It's the government.
It's not the people, right? And some places there are people that actually do.
So we'll see. You know, but Julian, this year, like I said, like I believe like U.S. capacity. We'll see it in Mexico, whether they'll get Sheinbaum's approval or not. They're going to find a way. They're going to bypass Congress.
Why haven't they done it yet?
You know. That's a good question. I think Mexico's just posed that different challenge because they're our neighbor, because we also have these ties. I mean, we have millions of Mexican Americans in the U.S. It's a different kind of animal, but I mean, I don't know why they haven't done it, but they're already flying CIA in there. They already put in HSI investigation guys went into Sinaloa, which I thought was insane. I've never seen.
Yeah, what does that look like?
It was, I don't know if we could Google it or if it's on X, but it should be like put like HSI Sinaloa. Yeah, it was a fascinating that the Mexican military allowed this.
U.S. feds arrest. No,
not that one. It'll be from like the CHPC, yeah. I don't know if we still have it, but it was like crazy.
As best as you can remember it, and we'll forgive you if you miss a few details. Like what was the gist?
Basically, HSI, obviously U.S. special agents went in with Mexicans, and I think that might be one of them. But they basically dismantled. Yeah, that's it right there. They dismantled like 3 synthetic fentanyl labs in Sinaloa. But like, look, it wasn't even HSI. They let ICE in there, Mexico, dude. So it's like you have ICE in Mexico, HSI. You got CIA drone. We probably got a few chaos agents running around Jalisco, Sinaloa from the CIA. You probably got like Mexican nationals that they're probably using. And then Sheinbaum's cornered here. You got an aggressive Marco Rubio. You got an ultra aggressive Stephen Miller, who's like cracked down on these drug cartels. So it's like if you're Sheinbaum, that's why Sheinbaum I think is panicking. She's turning over as many cartel leaders as she can. She bypassed some of her own legal jurisdictions to like release, I believe it was like 27 drug leaders and then take them to the United States. So she's like panicking. No matter how much fentanyl they seize, what's even like the level of success for the United States? So she's scrambling. And you got Marco Rubio right behind Trump's ear, like go.
So I guess one aspect is what you've been pointing out today. You could see like drone attacks or something like that. I mean, we're really playing hypotheticals here, but if you're Claudia Sheinbaum and the U.S. goes ahead without your approval and, drone strikes areas of your country and like a few civilians die, not even like 300 or something like that, but a few human lives who are not in the cartels are bad, is that an economic shutdown event? Because like all trades stop. Like, what does she do?
And then the other thing, what does it do to the immigration debate? Because if you're a Mexican national, the U.S. just did a fucking CIA drone bombing on Cartel. Can't you just run into the U.S. government and apply for asylum and because you're technically escaping a foreign terrorist organization? Yeah. So it's like, I don't even know, there's so many kind of element, that's one thing that Ed kind of brought up to me when I spoke to him previously. Like, hey man, don't forget, like what, you bomb them and then like if you're a Mexican national, can't you just automatically get asylum in the U.S.? You're technically fleeing this foreign terrorist organization that the U.S. is technically at war with. So there's so many little elements. We'll have to see how it plays out. Like I said, just from all the plays we're seeing, there's no way we do not see some type of U.S. military operation. I don't know. Like I said, might not look like the whole G.I. Joe guy comes down a helicopter, M16, Rambo. It might look more CIA. It might look more like we're learning more from the Venezuela attack where they have looks like they have that Havana syndrome weapon, the sonic boom, which I thought it was BS when it was first reported, but it seems like it's not. Like they could
I will say this. I'm going to slide this across to you. I can't show this on the screen for obvious reasons. but I do not think that's BS. Take a look. This is from. See that right there? The car blown out. Scroll it. Keep scrolling over. That's from the ground. You'll see one with like 3 cars like totally blown out, like almost stopped in time. See that?
These are intense, bro.
Yeah, that's from the immediate aftermath. So I don't. Yeah, that one right there. That, you know, I'm sure Lockheed's got a lot of fucking things. But you know, something's going on. With that. But, so Christian, the Venezuelan, my longtime editor, who's my boy, lives right there. So he saw the fucking helicopters come above him. They went outside and like watched, like, and they were like cheering up on the hill because they're like, holy shit, I think they're taking out Maduro or whatever. Crazy. But he saw, like, I'll have to ask him because we talked about it, but you know, I don't know if he like saw a sonic weapon or what that would even look like, but definitely some shit was going on there.
Yeah. So like, and the thing is, I think it was like 60 Minutes back, like 10 years ago, they reported like this sonic boom was used on U.S. officials, and I was thinking like, oh man, this has got to be made up by the U.S. government, like to push something. And then it's coming out that it's legit.
No,
they recovered it. It has some Russian components. The DOD. I don't know if really quick, Joey, we could Google that. Havana syndrome. I know the DOD was testing it for about a year. I don't know.
They've tried to deny that their own people are who say it's real. They've tried to deny that it's real. It's been like a controversy. Like, you know, there's a guy like Mark Polymeropoulos who had to retire. That's just one example. And like the government's like, oh no, it's not. I don't know. It's very sketchy.
Yeah. Go down on this though, because I believe that the Department of Defense was testing it for a year before.
The
Maduro.
So the Defense Department has spent more than a year testing a device purchase in an undercover operation that some investigators think could be the cause of mysterious ailments impacting U.S. spies, diplomats, and troops that are colloquially known as Havana syndrome. Wow. So basically, Julian, I remember like back in 2016, they paid 8 figures for the device. It's an undercover like whoa.
Yeah, keep reading it, bro. Yeah, watch.
Division of the Department of Homeland Security Investigations HSI purchased the device for millions of dollars in the waning days of the Biden administration using funding provided by the Defense Department. According to 2 of the sources, officials paid 8 figures for the device. The people said, declining to offer a more specific number. The device is still being studied, and there's ongoing debate and in some quarters of government skepticism over its link to the roughly dozens of anomalous health incidents that remain officially unexplained. Whoa. So
apparently, I guess a bunch of U.S. officials in Cuba reported all these injuries, and they like couldn't put they just didn't know how it happened. It's unexplainable.
Wonder where it came from.
And then I thought it was BS, bro. But then after this Venezuela thing in this, I'm like, oh, that's exactly.
There's some of it that fit. Like there's some people that have talked. I'm like, I don't know about that. And then other people, I'm like, why do I kind of believe that? You know, I don't know. I'm open-minded on it, but that's, you know, you talk about how they would do this in Mexico if they got creative. There is a guy that I want to have in here who watches this show because he literally comments sometimes. It's a little scary. You know, my theory with like CIA guys and stuff is for everyone else, I want to have them right there with the mics on, and everyone else out there can hear what they have to say. Put it out there for 3 hours and, you know, see what they reveal, right? Because we obviously have to be very skeptical of anything someone like that says. They're still working for the government. Like,
what's their motive?
Like, people in the comments are absolutely correct to question all that when I see that. But, you know, I'm selective with who we bring in. Matthew Hedger was interesting because he was a knock, which you never get those guys on podcasts. This guy I'm thinking of is a knock as well. And his story is that, and like now, so Luis Navia, the former smuggler for like all the cartels, like the chief international smuggler, who was on episodes 221 and 222, wild shit. He's connected to this guy. And essentially this dude started an organization with like 3 other former spooky people like 6 years ago after they left the government.
Right.
And, you know, just magically, they show up in all these third world countries, and 6 months later, boom, new leader, you know? Like they just happen to be there and the leadership changes. So it's like one of those. But he became a knock because he was a bartender basically dating the niece of, was it the Gallardo brothers or the Felix Arellano brothers? One of them in the early cartels. And CIA approached him and said, hey, you have access, and we've also spied on you. Like, you have a lot of good skills. You'd be great to be a spy. He's like, no, listen, I'm sure those guys are doing bad things, but like, I'm dating the niece and I'm not a rat. Like, I'm not running an investigation for you. And they're like, what do you mean investigation? We don't want you to investigate them. We want you to join them. They're useful to us. And this guy spent the next 3 decades, and longer than Matthew Hedger, inside the cartels from the earliest days building it. There is no one. He's a paramilitary expert. He became like serious over there. The guy's like in his early 70s, built like a fucking shithouse apparently. But there's no one, I think, who would have a better idea, who definitely still works for the government, as to what it could look like on the ground if some sort of option were taken. And I'm really
right. Yeah,
I haven't talked to him about doing one in a while because it was his idea to do one, and then it like didn't happen. But I think I might have to do that.
No, you got to bring him in. And then I think this right here, like, I'm sorry, but if you're a cartel guy and you see something like this, they ain't got nothing for that.
So focused on the threat, direct energy weapons.
Yeah, they ain't got nothing for that. They ain't got nothing for that.
I don't know if they're stopping that one. Best of luck.
Best of luck to you, pal, amigo.
But on another note, maybe a more important note, we going to Iran? What are we doing? What's happening?
We're bombing it. Can we pull up the statement today,
Christ.
Joy?
Oh.
It's never gonna stop. All right, this is the other thing here, Julian. There's so many things at play. Is like, yes, the regime is like killing people, live ammunition. There's all these things going on.
Bad.
We got Trump now wanting to go in there. Lindsey Graham got a hard on, and then this, at the end of the day, like, Israel has Mossad probably like infiltrating these protesters, causing a little bit of the chaos. There's just so many elements at play, but it's like, dude, how many regime changes can we do under one administration? I mean, I don't know how healthy it is,
man.
But Trump seems pretty adamant. He's been like doing the threats. He seems pretty adamant that they're going to do this thing.
It is a whole different cultural implication, as we said earlier, than Venezuela. This is a different beast. That's what I'm saying about the 3rd, 4th, 10th, 40th, and 100th order effects of something like Venezuela. Now you get a big dick and you're like, well, fuck it. Let's just take Iran too. That is not the same thing by a long shot. You now got Sunni and Shiite. Iran is Shiite. You got Sunni and Shiite issues in the region. You got people in the region who are Arab and automatically, even before 2 years ago, like just hate Israel and anyone allied with them. You could create, and they're also allied with the East. We're talking China, Russia. This is a fucking dangerous.
This one's a power kick. Yeah, this one's very, very big deal. Oh my, yeah, just the security forces, and it's also interesting just how things play out in media. I mean, this story gets a little more of that positive reception. We'll see, like, Trump on standby. Come on, this is our message.
Yeah, and listen, again, I want to be very clear. The Iranian regime's awful.
Oh yeah,
and I am so rooting for their people to do it from within and handle it their way, right? And I know it's been a long time. I believe they can do that. So many people there want to see that fall. That is not the issue. Where it becomes an issue is if fucking Big Dick Trump decides to come in and do it himself.
The leader, dude.
And because that will create. And
it was interesting actually, Joe, because I've been speaking when kind of bring to the Venezuela one. People like, oh yeah, we don't like under Biden. They try to make that guy Juan Guaido as a president. They try to like kind of prop him up. And I was speaking to some Venezuelans on the ground about this. They're like, "Look, Jorge, we don't like Maduro, but if you put Juan Guaido, it's gonna be worse because we know he's a direct puppet of a U.S. Western government, and that's how Iran's probably gonna look at this. I mean, sure, they want to overthrow of the regime, but like if it's not organic through their people, which I mean, is any uprising organic now? But they're gonna the next guy they install, they're just gonna view as, oh, well, you're just literally a puppet of the U.S. government.
Yeah, it's a great point. There's no uprising in modern human history that's been 100% organic. Like, there are forces that certainly help cause it, but it's a whole nother step when there's bombs and helicopters coming in and actually full blown straight up everybody knows installing. Like, I don't have I have an issue with how we handled the aftermath of the Soviet Union falling and things that were preventable mistakes that we made that have now made that relationship not great 30 years later. But like, that's where I don't have a huge issue with, say, CIA on the ground working sources to help move this thing along without actually going in there with boots on the ground and installing all their own people and shit like that. That's where it's like supposed to work. Now it's still dirty, but like the world's dirty. That's how it is.
Yeah.
We got to accept that. This, if it's going to be something, needs to be that and not that's going to be a big problem, and people aren't going to like that.
So supposedly JD Vance is the one who's trying to like get a diplomatic agreement, and then Marco Rubio camp's a little bit more aggressive. I'm sure Lindsey Graham is like behind.
Oh, he's
Trump's here. Let's really quick, Joe. I don't know if there'll be a mainstream article on this, but let's just put Google like Mossad in Iran. I mean, we'll see if mainstream has anything on this.
They would never be there. Mossad in Iran. So this is from Al Jazeera.
Yeah, Al Jazeera. Yeah.
Before people yell at us, we will disclose the source. It's Al Jazeera. But Iran accuses foreign intelligence of being behind protest movement, Israel's covert operations in Iran, spark allegations of destabilizing protein. And you know what? I have no doubt about that. And like, you know, are you surprised? Like this is what they want.
No, I saw, bro. I don't know if did I get saw it, but that viral kind of image with like the girl smoking the cigarette and burning the poster. They're like, oh, that's not even from Iran. I'm like, is it? So I don't.
Well, that's the other thing. We have to watch where things are from, and AI. I mean,
the fog of war. Yeah, the AI now is like
it's so scary. But fuck, man. I think I hopefully we'll be all right. We're recording this on Thursday. I think this is going to come out Monday. So if there's a little update on Iran, sorry about this last 7-minute segment there, but
there could already be bombs away by the time this.
Oh my god! But dude, Jorge, I'm so happy for you, man. That you're on your own doing your thing. Congratulations on going for it. You're gonna do great. You're one of my favorite people to talk with. So we'll do this again when you're getting some good stories. You just let me know. I'll get you right in here. All right.
Nice. Thank you, brother.
All right, everyone go follow Jorge on X. Check out his new YouTube channel. There's going to be great content coming there, as he's already outlined today. And I will see you guys for the next one. Peace. Thank you guys, as always, for watching this video. If you have not already subscribed, please hit that subscribe button and that like button before you leave. If you'd like the fully uncensored versions of these episodes with an early release, that is available on my Patreon. Link in description below. I'll see you for the next episode.